if you even criticise any element of the immigration policies of the last two governments, you're racist. And yet the Home Secretary, Shubham Mahmood, tries to copy our policies.
Patriotism, a force for good, is turning into something smaller, something more like ethno-nationalism, which struggles to accept that someone who looks like me and has a faith like mine can truly be English or British.
Britain is being invaded. Thousands of fighting-age men from countries that despise Britain continue to arrive on our beaches. Our plan is the only appropriate response to a national security emergency. Immediate removal. Deportation is the ultimate deterrent.
Our flags flying proudly as we celebrate difference and oppose racism.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral, and by implication, Reform supporters, Reform voters, Reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists.
We can all see that the country faces a choice, a defining choice. Britain stands at a fork in the road. We can choose decency, or we can choose division, renewal or decline.
To accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations like that. It directly threatens the safety of our elected officials and our campaigners. And frankly, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder, I think this is an absolute disgrace.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Glory right here on Talk. I'm Mr. Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Ahead, live, 4 fantastic hours of news, views and topical debate. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 03444 991000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number. And I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, October the 31st. Here's what's coming up. Well, a special good morning to Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, the Andrew formerly known as Prince. What a brilliant headline on the front page of today's Sun. Throughout the show, we'll be covering all angles of this extraordinary sensation, unprecedented in royal history. Randy Andy now on his way to a new life of disgrace in a small house on the Sandringham estate. This oafish, lying man-child still relying on his big brother's personal generosity. Meanwhile, his lying, conniving horror of a wife, Sarah Ferguson, has been banished completely and told that from now on, she will have to make her own arrangements. Wow. You mean just like normal grown-ups? But is this craven couple's nightmare over? Is it hell? A full police investigation is expected into their murky finances and their venal pursuit of dodgy money. Incredibly, royal experts believe that Andy and Fergie could both end up behind bars, especially Andy, whose denial that he sexually abused teenage Virginia Giuffre, or Virginia Roberts as she was known then, on 3 different continents, absolutely no one believes. including the rest of the royal family, as the King's excoriating statement made devastatingly clear. In other news, by the way, let me know what you think about this royal earthquake, this seismic royal event. Give me a call, 03444991000, or as I say, leave me a WhatsApp and we'll definitely play that out. In other news, the plot sickens as Chancellor Rachel Reeves's tale of woe over her illegal failure to get a landlord's licence to rent out her family home in South London seems to change every day. Keir Starmer firing off a dizzying number of letters, drawing a line under the entire messy affair. Well, I write 2 letters, but he's written 2 letters in 2 days, exonerating her. How many more times is he going to exonerate her? If only the rest of us had a Prime Minister to exonerate us when we break the law. Why is Rachel from Accounts getting special treatment? Who was it that said lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers? Oh, I know. It was Keir Starmer. How odd that he's changed his mind. But then again, our dear leader does love his 2-tier justice. One rule for the Westminster bubble gang and a different rule for the electorate. No wonder useless lump Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister ever. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday morning together, and I guess who's going to spend the morning, or at least the next hour with me? It's political commentator, former Conservative Special Advisor Charlie Rowley. Welcome.
Morning, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
What a very upbeat welcome. Hello, that was. We're pretending we're wide awake. Now, actually, we are wide awake. I mean, sometimes it is hard to keep your eyes open at these ungodly hours. Been up since 3:30. When have you been up since?
4:30, a little bit later.
Half four. You got an extra hour's sleep than me. No wonder he's so perky.
That was a lion.
But, you know, sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it's hard to keep your eyes open when you get up in the middle of the night and early hours and you come in here. But no problem with that in that respect today, because we are wide awake because of this extraordinary royal story. Well, the Sun today, the paper review now, of course, but there it is, the Sun's front page. The Andrew, formerly known as Prince, one of the great all-time headlines, that, I'll tell you, it really is. Sun is the home of fantastic headlines. Used to work there myself years ago, and boy, we came up with some beauties. Right, and the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, this extraordinary statement from Buckingham Palace last night, which sealed his fate. I'll read it out to you because it is worth another listen. Right, His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His lease on Royal Lodge has to date provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease, and he will move to alternative private accommodation. These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Very important sentence, that. Their Majesties wish to make it clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Charlie, the form of abuse they're talking about is sexual abuse. And the person they're talking about is Virginia Giuffre, who is believed to have taken her own life. She was only 41. She did lead a very, very sad and tragic life, passed around from man to man, farmed out, if you like, by Jeffrey Epstein, or his madam, as she was then, Ghislaine Maxwell. One of her clients, if you like, said to have been Prince Andrew. In fact, what the hell? It was Prince Andrew, wasn't it? Prince Andrew denies this. He continues to deny that he sexually abused this poor little 17-year-old girl on 3 different continents. Who in the world believes him? It is him clinging on to that little boy lie that is partially responsible for his fate today. And in this statement, Charlie, from the King, the royal family, the King and the royal family make it clear that along with the rest of us, they don't believe a word. And of course, Virginia Giuffre's book has just come out last week. It's called Nobody's Girl, and it chronicles in intimate and excruciating details what Andrew did to her on 3 different continents. I won't go into too many details, but she described him as an aggressive lover. Or lover is not the word, is it? An aggressive sexual abuser, obsessed with her feet. There's more details if you want to buy the book. The book is well worth a read. It's a very harrowing read. It's the tale of a poor girl from America, wrong side of the tracks, who ended up being passed around between rich men like a piece of meat. But the sentence that I think is really telling in this statement from Buckingham Palace, Royal Communications, Thursday the 30th of October, it says, after announcing that he will no longer be called Prince, he will lose all of his titles officially, it says, these censures are deemed necessary notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. What they're saying there is, why do you continue to deny these allegations? It is the most pathetic and poignant aspect of this entire sordid saga.
I think that's absolutely right, Kevin, and you've summed up what the whole nation is effectively thinking and will be thinking today on Halloween. Let's not forget
a nightmare Halloween horror.
Exactly, a nightmare set of headlines for Andrew, and again, you know, can't get away from the fact that he continued, and this is the thing, because he paid, he settled out of court with Virginia Giuffre, as you say, a nice sum of £12 million, so he didn't have a day in court. He's never been prosecuted, he's never been convicted, but he continued a relationship that he said he'd ended with Jeffrey Epstein, a man that was a convicted paedophile, that was rightly behind bars for the abuse and the trauma that he inflicted on young girls' lives, including Virginia Giuffre. There's no doubt about that. So Andrew continuing his relationship when he said he had ended it, the man is a liar. There's no doubt about that, because the timeline shows it. Yeah. And that is clearly why the royal family, I mean, you know, it shouldn't have just been that, but that has become the tipping point of this saga, having been stripped of his dukedom, you know, supposedly last week. Now he's being stripped of absolutely everything. Yeah,
I want to ask you, get your thoughts on this, Charlie, as well, and you magnificent audience out there. Let me know what you think about this. This royal family, you know, I like Charles. He's a nice guy, you know. I don't like his green claptrap, but that's up to him, I suppose. I don't think he should impose it on us. We're told the royal family are supposed to be above politics, never be political. Well, old Charlie and William, I mean, they're green fanatics. They bombard us with their political views on the environment day in, day out. So they kind of break the rules there. But that notwithstanding, you know, Charlie seems like a decent enough guy, you know, nice bloke and all that. However, he does seem to me to be making up the rules as he goes along with Andrew. I think 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago, when he announced, or when it was announced, that Andrew would magnanimously cease to refer to himself as the Duke of York, Earl of Inverness, and also Baron Killalea, that's a Northern Ireland title. When that was announced, I think Charlie thought, oh yeah, well that should be all right. Well, it wasn't all right. The public, because then we subsequently learned, well, although he won't call himself the Duke of York, he actually still is the Duke of York. He still has those titles by law. We were then told, well, you know, the king, you know, is such a generous-spirited guy. It requires an act of Parliament to strip him of those titles. And the king doesn't want to bother busy MPs with such a trifling matter. And the public said, well, if it takes an Act of Parliament, that's fine by us. We do want to bother busy MPs. And by the way, had it have been an Act of Parliament, that would have swept through the House in about 10 minutes. Wouldn't have bothered them at all. Anyway, now, today, we learn, oh, it doesn't require an Act of Parliament because His Majesty has initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew. So he can do it. The King can do it on his own. What is that about? I just think that, as I say, the King is a nice guy, I think. He's tried to be nice-ish to his brother, angry with him though he is. He tried to get away with, say, oh, don't worry, he won't call himself the Duke of York anymore. The public go, that's not good enough. And suddenly we learned that he doesn't need an Act of Parliament to strip him of his titles. So I think the King has been led by the public here. What the royal family is in, make no mistake, is a battle for its very survival. Andrew threatened the royal... A recent poll, incredibly, because of Andrew, revealed that 52% of British people would like to get rid of the royals, would like to get rid of the monarchy. That is unprecedented, and that's because of Andrew. That is why the King is doing this now, because he's finally woken up to the level of fury around the country about his sordid, dreadful, lying, venal brother.
Again, Kev, no one could put it better.
I'm on fire, aren't I?
You can't put, no one can put it better yourself. But you're absolutely right. And no doubt the pressure came from Prince William, who completely and utterly disowned Andrew at the recent funeral of
that was such a scene, wasn't it?
The Duchess of Kent. Exactly, because he didn't want anything to do with Andrew. And I think the two of them, obviously, William's going to inherit the throne at some point in the future and doesn't want any of this baggage, doesn't want any of this dark cloud hanging over his reign. And so I think he has probably been instrumental in talking to his dad and Charles and saying, look, as you said, the whole family is at stake here. Our whole legacy and the whole country is now turning against us because of one man who has been continued to be looked after by others within the royal family. He now needs to go. When the public discovered that he was still living in some grace and favour, it wasn't a 2 up, 2 down.
It was a 30 up, 30 down. Yeah.
Exactly. Paying peppercorn rent when the rest of us are still thinking, hello, that's not in tune with the British public, and that's not in tune with the British people. He needs to take a complete step back. But you're absolutely right. We were told that it would require an Act of Parliament. And MPs were coming out to say, well, that would only take about 10 minutes. We'd actually,
don't worry, Charlie, it wouldn't take long.
Yeah, exactly. So now...
But now we don't need one. Apparently he can do it himself. So, what King Charles is learning, or I'm sorry, sort of new anyway, what people around the world, particularly Americans, Kinsey Schofield will be in later, she understands it because she's a much greater royal expert than any of us put together. She's more British than the rest of us put together. She lives in California, spends all her time in Union Jack dresses and everything. But seriously, Americans, the King rules. What rules Britain? Well, of course, he doesn't, because we're a democracy. Parliament rules Britain. But what the King is learning, or learning a little more, shall we say, that in the end, the people rule the royal family. We dictate what they can and cannot do. And if we, the people, decide something needs to be done, the King had better obey us, and that's what he's done. That's what he's done.
Yeah, and there will have to be some involvement of Parliament. I think it will now. I think lawyers are drawing up what they need to do, which they'll send some sort of patent letter to Parliament, and they will just sign it off rather than debate it in Parliament, whether they'll be passing a law or whatever they have to do. So there will be that parliamentary involvement, which is the sign of the people, because that is the democracy. That is obviously as history tells us. So there will be that process, but it is more of a process rather than a demonstration of Parliament's muscles being flexed to say we are stripping Andrew of his. Well,
the King is, contrary to what we were told, able to personally strip his brother of his title. So, I suppose it's a minor point, but it really irritates me. And I think the king has been trying to get, or the royal family, if you like, have been trying to get away with as little as possible on this, and they are learning fast, day by day, that the public won't have it.
No.
You know, you're not just going to get away with, you know, oh, it's all right, don't worry, he won't call himself the Duke of York anymore. That's not good enough. And by the way, here's another aspect to the debate that's been going on for a couple of weeks since he generously agreed not to call himself the Duke of York anymore. So all these experts, well, what we've been told, well, because, you know, we could pass an Act of Parliament and get rid of the Duke of York and the Earl of Inverness and the Baron Killelea, but of course, Prince, that's his birthright. You can't do anything about him being called Prince. Apparently today you can.
And you're right. And I think what people will ask, who are the people that have been advising the royal family or advising Parliament or advising that is the case? I suspect, who knows, but I suspect because obviously the late Queen was on through for such a long period of time, the status quo would always have been, and her view might have been, I don't want to speculate on what she might have thought, but, you know, it might have been, oh, we can't strip Andrew of his titles because by birth, and as Her Majesty the Queen, as she was then, she's obviously passed that on to him by birth, so we can't do anything about it. Until somebody's now decided, well, actually, let's look a bit deeper in this, you know, constitution. Let's actually go through to subsection 26.1a.
Found something.
Found something. It's actually in the prerogative of the monarch, so the king or queen of the day, rather than by birth. So someone somewhere, I think, has done a little bit more research than what might have just been lazy, the status quo, because obviously Her Majesty the Queen was there for so long. So under her reign, that was obviously the case that it was passed on by birth. But if it is the case that it's at the hands of the monarch, whoever he or she may be at the time, then that's a complete game changer. And you could then ask, would that extend to other members of the royal family? Could it? Should it?
Well, I know for a fact that there's a certain couple on the west coast of America who live in Montecito who are extremely disconcerted by these events because William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who, by the way, as you quite rightly say, Charlie, are big movers and shakers in these developments. William, much harder-hearted, or that's not fair, much less soft-hearted than his dad, let's put it that way. And Catherine, who's quite the tour de force, trust me, they have forced this through. They have told Charlie, King Charles, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And I'm not wishing him away, but when William ascends to the throne, I predict that one of his first acts will be to announce that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are no more. They are, well, what will they be called? Will they be called Harry and Meghan Mountbatten Windsor? Will it be that?
Well, will they still be together?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Speculation is around.
The only person who's, probably the person who's enjoying this more than anybody else, because let's face it, this is a venal, lying oaf, almost certainly a sexual abuser, getting his just desserts, and there is a certain satisfaction in that around the public. Last night on Question Time, Fiona Bruce interrupted the proceedings to say this has just happened. Announced it, sort of said we're going to debate it right away, but the King has now said that, and the audience, the BBC Question Time audience, burst into spontaneous applause. So people wanted this. People are finding satisfaction in this, and I suspect that if the same thing happened to Harry, similar story. So you have been warned, Harry. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll discuss some more elements of this. I mean, there are other stories around. We need to talk about Rachel Reeves later on, and several other important stories. But this is pretty massive, I think you'll agree. And when we'll come back, we'll talk about the domestic arrangements of Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. As I said in my monologue, I mean, this is seismic, Charlie. Sarah Ferguson, the former Duchess of York, Fergie, has been told that from now on in her life she's going to have to make her own arrangements. I mean, that is just shocking, isn't it? I mean, you mean like a normal adult? No one's going to pay for stuff? No one's going to buy her homes? Oh, that's extraordinary. I wonder how she'll cope. Badly, I hope. We're going to break. We'll be back in a moment.
My friend was murdered last year up on the High Street. Girl I know was murdered in Southall Park. The government are failing us. I'm so scared for my children. I have a 22-year-old son and I'm begging him to move out of the country. What are these politicians doing to us? They're putting our children in so much danger. They're putting everyone in danger. British people never vote against their government.
Yeah.
They're going to push us through it because they're not listening to us.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, before we go on, we're going to, on page 5 of the Times, Sandringham is Andrew's new home. We'll have a look at that in just a second. But who can forget Andrew's triumphant interview with Emily Maitlis on Newsnight 2019, that was. Here he is, being incredibly honest about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted paedophile.
I went to see him. And I was doing a number of other things in New York at the time, and we had an opportunity to go for a walk in the park, and that was the conversation, coincidentally, that was photographed, which was when I said to him, I said, look, because of what has happened, I don't think it is appropriate that we should remain in contact. And by mutual agreement during that walk in the park, we decided that we would part company, and I left, I think it was the next day. And to this day, I never had any contact with him from that day forward.
It's shocking, isn't it? What a liar. I mean, so that was, if you like, look, this process of his slow motion downfall, his plummet from grace, has been going on, well, since that interview, if not before. But it got accelerated, I think, with the release of Andrew Lowney's book, which was now about a month ago. That was called Entitled, The Rise and Fall of the House of York. And it was extraordinary. I mean, it absolutely exposed Andy and Fergie as just a couple of venal grifters with the moral backbone of a jellyfish. So that accelerated the process, but the straw that broke the camel's back, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, the Sun on Sunday and the Mail on Sunday both broke the story of Prince Andrew's email to Jeffrey Epstein, which was significantly after that interview with Emily Maitlis. I broke off contact. By the way, in that interview, that little section, he also came out with the immortal phrase, "If I have any faults, it's that I'm too honourable." So he was so honourable, he said, that he felt he couldn't just break off his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein by phone or by email. He had to fly to New York and stay in his $100 million townhouse in Manhattan, full of girls, and then went for a walk in the park and said, I can't ever, I have to break off contact. Anyway, Mail on Sunday, Sun on Sunday, 2 weeks ago, revealed this incredible email which said, after he'd said that, and it was, "Oh, Jeff, you know, we're both in this together. Oh, what a mess, but don't worry, we'll ride it out and we will play again soon." What a vile little phrase that was. Meanwhile, the same syndrome, the same chronology had been revealed about Sarah Ferguson, who had done exactly the same thing. She gave a huge interview saying, "Oh, I've realised I've made the most terrible error of judgment," that was her phrase, about Jeffrey Epstein. You know, "I've now cut off all contact with him." And that the story was that Jeffrey Epstein had at one point paid off a £15,000 credit card debt for her. In fact, the truth is, he funded her and Andy, but he funded her to the tune of millions of pounds for a fair few years. He was their big secret benefactor, millions and millions of pounds. So she said, "I made a terrible error of judgment," and cut him right off. "I've cut him off." And then another email emerged subsequent to that statement that she'd written to him, "Jeffrey, you're my supreme friend. I hope you understand. I had to say that, you know, because you know, the forces of darkness were coming down on me." So she lied as well. Well, let's. I mean, well, they're like the worst couple on earth. They really are. Now, what I think about Sarah Ferguson or Andrew, really, it's like all these people. It's like, get a job. Get a job like the rest of us. Get up in the morning. Go to work. Don't expect people to give you money. As I said to you off air, that all that this awful couple thought about Jeffrey Epstein, it was irrelevant to them that he was a convicted paedophile. What was relevant to them was that he was worth several $1 billion and could give them money. So much so they even took their daughters to Pedo Island. I mean, that is just disgusting. But anyway, let's talk about the homes. Looks like Andrew, well, of course, part and parcel of this, as contained in this statement from Buckingham Palace last night, is that he will be moving out of Royal Lodge, his 30-room massive mansion that he's lived in for, I think, 22 years. Used to be the home of the Queen Mother. So he's lived there on a peppercorn rent. By the way, we need to look into all of these royal domestic arrangements. Seems that Prince Edward has a pretty similar arrangement at Bagshot House, I think his home is called. He at one point, right, this is a mansion that makes Royal Lodge look small. What he said, I'm paying the market rate. Do you guess what rent he was paying? £5,000 a year. And then it went up to 90,000,
right,
which is still damn cheap.
Yes.
You know, and we're not allowed to see. Freedom of information requests have come up with all these documents, all redacted. So the royal family still reserve the kind of privileged, entitled right to keep their finances secret from the public, and we fund them. And that's why the Royal Lodge is a public issue, is because it's not in the end just owned by the royal family. The taxpayers have a stake in the royal estate, and so therefore our money was at stake in terms of the tenure of Royal Lodge. So this is why the king had to act. Anyway, the king now is going to give his brother a little house on the estate in Sandringham. It may be the cottage lodge that Prince Philip used to secrete himself in. Apparently when Prince Philip was there, it was full of books about UFOs. He was obsessed with UFOs, unidentified flying flying saucers and all that. So he may live in that, but there's another house on the estate that actually the public can rent. It's sort of Airbnb kind of place. They may give him that, but I think, you know, and of course the king will give it to him for free. And again, I just think, well, if I was the king, I said, look, mate, you know, I think the game is up. You're going to have to learn what it's like to be a grown-up. Go and find your own place.
Yeah, and look, many people have lots of sympathy with that. And like the place on the Sandringham estate, as you say, whether it's there or York Cottage and other suggested residents, that's used by lots of staff as well. So there's about 200 people that work on the estate. So they all, or some of them, live there as well. So it's not a private residence for Andrew, by no means. But you're absolutely right. You know, I mean, apart from him being a national security, risk, which has also been floated with his links to China, can he go and get a job? Can he go and do anything else? I suspect not. And I think the king is, as a brother, more than a king, saying, right, you're out of the royal equation. You're gone. All your titles stripped. Finny, no more, finished. The curtain has come down on your royal prerogative, your royal titles and all the rest of it. But as your brother, I own that estate. I'm the king that sort of generates a lot of income to this country as being the king through tourism and all the great causes. So you are just going to be my tenant. As my brother, you're going into that back bedroom and you're staying there and you're keeping stum.
The king's going to say to you, I've got you this little house on the Sandringham estate. You can live there for free. There's one catch. We're going to weld the front door so you can't get out. But that essentially will be what the king said. I want you to stay there. I don't want you to just be seen in public anymore. That's what this is all about. But meanwhile, Sarah Ferguson, this is... it has been made clear. She has been told you'll have to make your own arrangements. So she really has been banished right out into the cold. No more royal patronage for her.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. You know, this is Fibber Fergie, who, as you say, made a public statement about disowning Epstein, saying it was a terrible decision, she wanted to cut off that relationship, and then went to email him to say, oh, you realise I had to do that for PR purposes, effectively, but I still hold you in great regard. Basically, I want your money. There is no doubt in my mind that Jeffrey Epstein was not only obviously a serial sex offender, which is why he was behind bars, but he obviously had a complete narcissistic, but also believable side of being some sort of good. But I mean, he has been able to fool.
I think he was charming. He was charming. Yeah. He knew how to use his money. Yeah. I mean, he sort of sucked into his evil web so many people. Bill
That's
Clinton,
the point. Exactly.
You name it. Donald Trump was a mate of his for a long time. Donald Trump, got to stress this, Donald Trump's saving grace, if you like, is that he never went to Pedo Island. He was never on the passenger manifest of the Lolita Express, Jeffrey Epstein's private jet that used to fly down there regularly, full of VIP men for a fun time.
Yes.
Daily Mail page 4, just before we go to break, Andrew faces private prosecution. That is that Republic, you know, that anti-monarchy organisation. They're saying, well, you know, Andrew should be fully investigated by the police because clearly there is serious evidence that he committed sexual assault in this country of Virginia Giuffre, and that his financial affairs are clearly murky and dubious. All of this should be investigated. They say it still seems that the royal family are regarded to be above the law, therefore they've taken out a private prosecution against Andrew. But other royal experts, including Andrew Lowney, who I've had on my show several times, he's a very reserved guy, but my God, I mean, that book was amazing, and he says that there's no doubt whatsoever that this is not over for Andrew and Fergie, that Andrew will face a serious police investigation, and it is not beyond the realms of possibility that both Andrew and Fergie could end up behind bars. That is extraordinary.
Yeah, that would be... well, you know, just when things can get any more worse, you know, in terms of headlines, in terms of the story, it obviously can. But that's obviously why the royal household, the king, maybe with William, have acted in the way that they have last night to say, right, we don't want anything more to do with you now. We're stripping out. So we're going as far as we possibly can as a royal family to say you are out. And then what happens after that, mate, you're on your own, because we can't keep funding, we can't keep defending, we can't keep protecting you or trying to do PR for you that you clearly, you know, which you're unable to spin. You can't spin it anymore, Andrew. You know, you've messed up. You continued a relationship with a convicted paedophile and you lied about it. You know, your wife wanted more money from this you know, from Jeffrey Epstein. You know, she lied also about cutting off contact. So you are public liars.
Yeah,
that is what has brought the
liars. So just quickly, before we move on, we must move on, but the page 3 of the Sun, page 3, page 3, it's got a ring to it, hasn't it? Different kind of story on it there today. The princesses' titles are safe from the axe. That's Princesses Eugenia and Beatrice, who apparently the king is personally very fond of. That is, the jury's out on that as well, because their finances, Andrew used to take them on all of his trips to Arab countries and all these weird places where he seemed to extract money. So their finances are being what they call ethically examined. So if their finances have somehow or other benefited from dodgy the kind of dodgy money that Andrew made a lifestyle of, they may not be in the clear. The whole family could be in trouble here, but as of now, they're still princesses. Quick voice note, this is Phil on Andrew.
Morning, Kev. Phil from Nottingham. The only person that's ever gone to prison for this is Ghislaine Maxwell, for securing the services of young girls. Who was she securing these girls for? Where are they? Why have they never been brought to justice?
Brilliant point, Phil. I've said it myself many times. One of the great horrors of this ongoing scandal, which now goes back decades, is this was a scandal predominantly of men. This was a billionaire man using his wealth to provide underage young girls for men, for VIP rich men, for his important mates. This was a scandal of men. And the only person who's been punished for it at all is Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman who's doing 20 years for basically finding all these girls, being Epstein's recruiting officer, his madam, if you like. I mean, I'm sure she deserves it, but so a lot of other people deserve to be punished. I mean, Andrew's being punished, but is he being punished enough? I mean, if it's just like, right, you lose your titles, you're going to live in a house in Sandringham for free. Well, if you broke the law, if you sexually assaulted someone in London, why are you getting away with that? Let's go to break, and I'll tell you what, we'll talk about some other stories when we come back, I promise.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, I said that we were going to talk. I'm still with Charlie Rowley, of course, former Conservative Special Advisor, political commentator. I said we were going to cover some other stories. And the Mail, to its credit, normally they'd have had Andrew would have been the whole front page, but they've been running with their Rachel Reeves exclusive. Was it yesterday or was it the day before? I can't remember. The story kind of broke the day before, but it was all over the Mail's front page yesterday. And this is the story of how Rachel Reeves and her husband, you know, as is the manner of these things, when she became Chancellor of the Exchequer, moved into number 11 Downing Street. Of course, they have a nice family home down in the very nice part of South London called Dulwich. They're renting that place out. Some estimates are for about 70 grand a year. Some say three. I heard £3,000 a month. £3,000 a month for a house in South Dulwich. I don't think so. 70 grand a year, and the story originally was, oh my God, she failed to apply for a landlord's licence, which you have to do in the borough of Dulwich. It costs £900 a year. And therefore, having rented this place out, she's breaking the law. So she said, oh, really sorry, no one told me. I'll immediately make amends. And of course, in the manner of these things, I write to the Prime, oh, there's been a terrible oversight. Yeah, when MPs break the law, it's an oversight. It's always an oversight. So there's a bit of oversight. I've immediately taken steps to sort this situation. Prime Minister, what a magnificent display of honesty and integrity by you. In the circumstances, your apology draws a line under the whole affair. And you think, well, you know, I wish we all could have a Prime Minister to exonerate us when we break the law. Why do they get special treatment? But that seemed to sort of be the end of the matter. Then it emerges that, in fact, she had been told that the letting agents had told her, well, you do need this licence. And then they didn't sort of press the issue, because apparently gets complicated. Apparently the letting agent, the actual letting agent, the member of staff dealing with this, suddenly resigned and the whole issue was forgotten. So Rachel and her husband never did get this licence. But Rachel said, well, nobody told me. And obviously she got onto the letting agent, you know, the last couple of days. Oh, look, can you tell them that it's not really my fault? So the letting agents have sort of issued this grovelling apology to say, oh, absolutely, yes, we did tell, or we didn't tell Rachel Reeves because this member of staff quit. Or we did tell her, but then this member of staff quit and we didn't follow this up. So the story's changed. Her saying nobody told me, that was her first story. The next day, the letting agent said, well, we did tell her, but I'm afraid we didn't press the issue because this member of staff. So the story's changed. So once again, Keir Starmer's had to write another letter saying this obviously proves what a marvellous figure of integrity and honesty you are, and once again I'm drawing a line under this. How many lines under this sordid affair is the Prime Minister going to draw? The main point about this is she wasn't telling the truth day one, and the story has changed, and the Prime Minister keeps exonerating her. If it was you or me, Charlie, or any other member of the public, and we hadn't done that, trust me, we would be in court. And the question here is, you know, why is she getting away with this? Just because what should happen here is she should be prosecuted. Her and her husband should be prosecuted. Okay, it's not murder, it's not the most serious of offences, but she broke the law. and we would be prosecuted. Why is she not being prosecuted? It's because of this, because she's got a Prime Minister to accept her apology and to draw a line under the whole affair. Two-tier justice. He loves that, doesn't he?
Exactly, and that is something that the Prime Minister continuously seems to has got no end of examples of the country where there is this two-tier justice system, where there's this two-tier us and them approach. Nobody likes a rule breaker at all. And she's broken the rules.
She's broken the law.
But at least, exactly. But nobody likes a liar. That is the second most,
Prince Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always the cover-up. So, you can be forgiven if you are the most generous person in the world, and I like to think I'm quite generous, and, we can't be here at Talk, I know, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
And, she's just become...
It's in our DNA.
It's in our DNA. She's just become Chancellor of the Exchequer. She's got all these things, the excitement, the stress, the worries about, maybe the kids, if they've got kids, or the family home, or whatever. Right, we're moving into number 11, well, that's a bit of a... Right, you've got to move here, I've got to... Oh, and all these papers keep coming in, I've got all officials, I've got all these phone calls, I've got all these messages. You can be forgiven for saying, right, I'm just going to let a letting agency deal with the family home. That's fine. There was an oversight. Oh, God, that's embarrassing. You would have thought you checked, by the way, after you've just lost your Deputy Prime Minister, who lost their job after who had to resign for not paying stamp duty, capital gains on their, you guessed it, their home. So you would have thought you would have checked all of that. But then to say, oh, sorry, Prime Minister, we didn't know about this. Really sorry.
I mean,
but they did know about it. That's the cover-up, and that's why I think the Mail, the front page of the Mail, are absolutely right to continue going after.
Yeah, her story is changing. She's written 2 letters. Oh, today we discovered this other correspondence that I didn't remember. It's like, come on.
She would have known.
She's been lying again.
She would have known.
Here's the Home Office Minister, Sarah Jones, defending Rachel from accounts yesterday on the BBC.
She made a mistake. She didn't know she had to apply. As soon as she knew, she applied, she rectified the mistake, and she told the Prime Minister, she told the authorities in Parliament, she did everything as she should. She rectified the mistake, and she's apologised for it.
And let's quickly, before we go to break, this is Rachel Reeves back in 2021, getting very high and mighty and pious about rule breakers.
And it now turns out that the very people at the top of government making these rules for everybody else didn't think that they applied to them.
All right, what can I ask you?
I don't think that we can have a situation where there's one set of rules for one group of people and another for everybody else.
Can I ask?
Ooh, well, so it's okay when they do it. That's terrible. When you do it, Rachel, that's just fine. Just write a letter to the Prime Minister. Well, 2. I wonder what letter she's going to write. Oh, I found another correspondent. It seems the story's changing. Well, you never forget, Keir. You never believe it, Keir, but I've forgotten again. Oh, well, I can draw a line under it one more time. Go for a hat-trick. Go for a hat-trick. Let's go to break.
breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive. We've been looking at... I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. The big story of the day. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. This is Morning Glory. You remember, I'm in for Mike Graham. He is on leave, and you all know why. We are investigating his Facebook page. His Facebook page is being investigated, and as I keep telling you every day, bear with us because we all have to wait. Mike has to wait, I have to wait, you have to wait. It's just one of those things. So, as they say, the show must go on. And with me still is Charlie Rowley, former Conservative Special Advisor. We are, of course, talking about the big story of the day. What was it again? What was the headline? The Andrew, formerly known as Prince. Great headline in The Sun. What do you think? So now Andrew, in total disgrace, so is his former wife. By the way, they always said they're the happiest divorced couple in the world. Well, it turns out they're not really. Bizarrely, she stayed in the Royal Lodge while he, had the lease. So they lived together in this massive place. So it's presumably possible to live in there and never see each other because it's so huge. But when it all began to fall apart, we heard that both of them went to the King and said, well, look, basically they said, Andrew said, all right, I agree, I'll have Frogmore Cottage. Well, they call it cottage. You see these places, huge places on the Windsor estate, the Royal Estate at Windsor Great Park. I'll have Frogmore, where Harry and Meghan used to live, and Fergie, my ex-wife, she'll have Adelaide Cottage. You should see Adelaide Cottage. It's a huge palace. That's where William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and their kids currently live. They're about to move to an even bigger place, and that they're about to move to an even bigger place, and so they said we'll have both of these places, and of course. So that would indicate that they didn't want to be together. Yes. If you see what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And it's a funny old, we keep hearing that Andrew says, oh, I'm doing this in an honourable way and I'm taking the honourable decision. Whether it's disassociating himself with Jeffrey Epstein, he said, we made the decision that we shouldn't keep contact. He then said, on the back of losing his title, Duke of York, supposedly last week, he put out the statement to say, I have consulted with the King and I am in the, after consulting with my family and in honour to the country, and it's all. But behind the scenes, he's obviously saying, right, well, if you're going to force me out, I want 2 cottages, I want 2 estates, I want for me and the missus or the ex-wife.
And by the way, we're not the happiest divorced couple in the world. We don't want to be together anymore. Thank you very much, Charlie. Kinsey Schofield is in the studio next. Stick around, folks.
My
message to people smugglers is this. I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Smash, 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 smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
People smuggling puns.
He couldn't even smash an avocado for a piece of toast.
Or the people... What would that... The people...
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Well, it might be if you smashed any, if you found any.
The people smash... The smash...
And he hasn't smashed anything. I mean, literally all he does is he smashes records every sort of couple of weeks, where more and more people come in a period of 24 hours.
Smash the gangs that are running this vile trade.
You're never going to smash the gangs. That's something that basically is impossible. The gangs are like the Hydra. You cut the head off and another two grow.
So I did write to ministers and say that I wasn't convinced that smashing the gangs was the right sort of way of thinking about things.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Keir Starmer has just tweeted 15 minutes ago. He says, "I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source." Maybe I'll just read it all in his accent, shall I?
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left the EU. I do not accept that prevents us working with other police units here, with prosecutors here, to smash the gangs.
Well, I'm sure the smuggling gangs are absolutely quaking in their boots now. Keir Starmer is on their case. Solving this issue, smashing the gangs, is that the impossible dream, Tom?
It really seems beyond him at the minute, I have to say.
We're going to get the evil people smugglers and we're going to smash them and we're going to put them in jail. That will solve the migrant crisis. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's promise to smash the gangs has resulted in just 5 convictions. Hurrah for operating small boats.
So what he really wants to say is that this policy of smashing the gangs is a total and utter disaster. There isn't a cat in hell's chance that it's going to work. You just can't say it.
It's crap. That's what he's basically saying.
I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. Mark my words, I will take back control of our borders. That means cutting migration, ending the use of asylum hotels and ramping up our efforts to stop small boat crossings.
It's like a parallel universe, the real world, as told by the impressive David Bolt, and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' fantasy world.
We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Of course, the big story of the day. This is Morning Glory. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, in for Mike Graham. The big story of the day is Prince Andrew, Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He is a prince no more. He is no longer the Duke of York. He is no longer the Earl of Inverness. He is no longer Baron Killalea. He is plain Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Extraordinary, extraordinary. So we'll be covering that. But also, I must stress, there are other stories around, important stories. So later in this hour, Charlie Kirk is the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, the alleged shooter Tyler Robinson, is in court. We'll go over to America and talk to Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian about that. Also, Benedict Spence, political commentator, will be in to talk more about this incredibly increasing murky affair of the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, and what exactly happened in terms of the house she's renting out privately in Dulwich in South London. She didn't get a licence, a landlord's licence. They cost £900, and that's against the law. Now, she said nobody told her about it, and then the letting agent said, well, we did tell them about it, but we kind of dropped the ball and didn't quite finish it. So then she said, oh, yes, I found a correspondent. I did know about it, but we all kind of forgot, so we didn't do it. So the story keeps changing. Keir Starmer's now written 2 letters exonerating her. for different reasons and saying, oh, we're drawing a line under it, you know, and we're all thinking, well, when we break the law, if only we all had our own personal Prime Minister to exonerate us, to draw a line under it and to accept our apology. She's getting special treatment. She's being treated in the way that you and me, General Joe Public and Jane Public, would not be treated. We're being caught. This is not over, folks. We'll talk about that. Also, there's going to be a huge demonstration, protest in Birmingham, November the 6th. I think that's Saturday week, isn't it? Which the organisers say will bring Birmingham to a standstill. It's a pro-Palestine mega march. And what we need to talk about is increasing fears that Britain's second city is being seriously Islamified. It's becoming a kind of Muslim central. You know, we had the Aston Villa affair where Jewish Israeli fans were banned from the ground. We've got these very Islamic extremist Muslim MPs there. We had Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, walking through Handsworth there, and saying that he didn't see another white face and he felt this was wrong, so on and so forth. So there are concerns about Britain's second city. We'll talk about that later in the hour. But first, we need to go back to, as I say, the huge story of the day. That is Prince Andrew, and she's in the studio. It's Kinsey Schofield, our royal guru. Well, Kinsey, you and I usually talk. By the way, I do want to talk about Meghan in a little while, because we've got a spread in the Daily Mail about her products on her As Ever online store, and comparing them to similar products that the King sells or that the Duchy of Cornwall sells.
Well, has a woman ever had an original thought?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but also the prices.
Oh, yeah.
Her original thought is, I know what I'll do, I'll sell these things for more than anyone else. We'll get to that in a minute. It's not quite so important, obviously. I mean, for God's sake, overnight, what a story. What I want to ask you, Kinsey, I said this to Charlie Rowley. Well, I'm slightly confused here because this time, when we were told, don't worry, the King said, don't worry, Andrew won't call himself the Duke of York anymore. He'll renounce his titles, but he'll officially still have them. And of course, he can't stop being called Prince. That's his birthright. Suddenly today, the King does seem to be able to officially, formally, remove the titles from his brother, and also apparently we can stop. He can be stripped of the right to call himself Prince.
Hi, Harry and Meghan.
Yeah. They'll be following this story very closely, trust me. But seriously, the game and the rules seem to be changing as we go along.
I think that there was a sense of urgency as this story continued to evolve and, you know, really hijack headlines away from the good that the royal family's trying to do. You know, Prince William doesn't hop on a plane to Rio to execute a giant Earthshot event because he wants it to be completely ignored by the humiliation of Prince Andrew, and that's where William's headed, because and he wants all eyeballs on Earthshot. I can imagine that this was one of his biggest arguments. We saw.
Do you mean Earthshot, where Prince William reserves the right to break royal tradition and get involved in politics?
I love
along with the King.
I plead the fifth.
They're not allowed to be involved in politics unless it's net zero.
I love Prince William, so I plead the fifth here. But yeah, so I think that it was just an avalanche of negative stories that continued to come out, and you and I have had the conversation about what could potentially loom. I'm not saying that there could be worse out there, but you know, when you see a pylon like this and you see Andrew, you know, lose a little bit of power, will that give some of the other alleged victims the courage to finally step up and say, I want to say this was my experience. The ghostwriter of Virginia's book says, I have audio tapes that I've hidden from the world. Don't come after me, but they exist. The Epstein files continue to leak. What other emails exist? What other creepy one-liners are out there? So I think that the palace learned the hard way that they can't trust Andrew through the leak of those emails.
No one can trust that.
Right, and so I think that they have just decided we're going to distance ourselves. But can I tell you something that is being reported in the States that might really frustrate you? The Daily Beast, Tom Sykes is reporting that Andrew was paid millions to go away, that one of his demands was millions of dollars, and that they claim that the king is paying Andrew millions to go away.
I don't know about that. I mean, of course I don't know about it. I mean, it's an interesting story, but the thing is about William, and especially Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, his former wife, is the fear is that in their disgrace and their penury, because money may be an issue for both of them now, that they might write a tell-all book.
So why wouldn't you give them millions to shut them up?
That's my point. Yeah. It's entirely possible, but I think I said to you the other day, I mean, the public don't care about that. This isn't about the royal family. I mean, this is about the public. The public is telling the royal family what to do now. Charles has received his instructions from the nation and he's carrying them out. 2 weeks ago, he tried to get away with saying, don't worry, he won't call himself the Duke of York anymore. So we go, all right, that's all right. Of course, you can't take Prince away from him. That's his birthright. We go, okay then. Although he won't officially lose these titles because you need an act of Parliament for that. And the King doesn't want to bother the Parliament with that. That act of Parliament, it may still be necessary, but it doesn't seem like it is. Take about 10 minutes. It'll race through. So that's nonsense. But it seems now that they don't need an act of Parliament, and it also seems now suddenly we can strip him of the right to call himself Prince. As I say, the rules seem to be changing as they go along.
Maybe the King's more powerful than we ever imagined.
No, he's less powerful than he ever imagined. That's the truth.
But, I think that this has been a hard 24 hours, 48 hours for Andrew. He's an egomaniac. He will hate being Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I'm going to go out of my way to ensure that I refer to him as Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, because, he says he's innocent of what Virginia accuses him of, and if we accept that as truth, I
don't accept it.
Well, if you do, there's no justification for his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
He's a liar. You're right about Virginia Giuffre. This book, Andrew Lowney's book a month or so ago, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. I mean, this process of Andrew's fall from grace and Fergie's has been going on now for years, ever since he paid £12 million to stop Virginia Giuffre going to court, to civil court in America. So at that point, I'm giving him £12 million not to go to court, but of course I deny her allegations. I've never met her. Why are you giving her £12 million then?
Right.
People go to the court, clear your name. Oh, no, I don't think I'll do that, So nobody's believed him. But I think this is what I said earlier. Possibly the most excoriating line in this statement from Buckingham Palace is this. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Royal Lodge, These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. That means that shows that Charles and the royal family are as frustrated as the rest of the nation that this man-child continues to say, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. He's just lying, isn't he?
It's impossible. I mean, Charles is in a difficult situation. You talk about that payout. That was the Queen's team that wanted to do that so that she could have a clean platinum jubilee. And I wonder how resentful the King must be, or might be, of the King's team for not really taking care of this situation. This was an inherited problem that exploded during his reign, a reign that he waited 70 years for, and a reign where he didn't realize he was going to be having to babysit his brother.
And to go on, these censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. And then it goes on to say, again, you know, this is essentially saying, to hell with you, Andrew, you are lying. It says, Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. What they actually mean there is the victims and survivors of sexual abuse, and they are essentially saying Andrew sexually abused Virginia Giuffre. I'm saying it, the nation is saying it. What are you going to do about it, Mr. Windsor, Mr. Mountbatten Windsor? You sexually abused that woman on 3 different continents, didn't you? It's clear that's what the palace believe. I believe it. I think you believe it.
I don't want to be involved.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He ain't going to do anything. He ain't going to do anything. And it's his little boy lie that has got him into this deep trouble. It's pathetic.
You know, I think the downfall, looking back at all of this, was the arrogance in thinking that you were going to outsmart the BBC.
Yes, and the nation and the world.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was that entitled and arrogance was on, and delusion was on full display for the world to see. And you know, when you see something like that, it challenges you, and you say, well, I'm going to catch you in a lie. And what he did right there was he inspired, including Virginia, a lot of people to catch him in a lie. And here we are.
There's 2 things I want to say about the new domestic arrangements. Of course, Fergie, this is proving to me that in the end, the King and the royal family and William have decided, well, if you write your tell-all book, Andrew or Fergie, to hell with you. Just do it. To hell with you. Because they've said to Fergie, you're on your own. They've said she will from now on make her own arrangements. As I said earlier in the show, oh my God. Yeah. You mean she's going to have to pay her own way? You know, like normal adults?
For the first time in her life?
Yeah, for the first time in her life. I tell you, you see, this is what happens when you promote people from below stairs. She's a servant. She was the daughter of a servant. You should never let them upstairs. I'm joking, by the way.
Yeah, he's kidding.
Yeah. So, mind you, it isn't a great idea because people from below stairs look at the upstairs people and they think, God, I'd like to live like that. And if they do get the chance, they tend to behave like Fergie, abuse their position. Which
and
is
remember, at
what
the
she's
beginning,
done.
Everybody thought they misbehaved, and everybody thought it was so cute.
Yeah.
They were lively. They were fun.
Yes, exactly.
And you realize, actually,
Fergie, she's incorrigible.
Yeah, and you're like, actually, she's out of control, and she is a menace.
So what I was going to say about this, she's on her own, which means she almost certainly will write a tell-all book. As I say, I'll look forward to reading it. The royal family have basically said, do your work.
Tell us more about growths on your body.
Yeah. Well, they've said, to hell with you. Do your work.
You remember she wrote about Diana giving her warts in her last book. Diana,
well,
she shared
we can talk
Diana's...
about that all morning, couldn't we? But let's not. But what about Andrew? So he's going to be given this free house.
Well, he would have to have a ghost blogger, I believe.
Yeah, but he's
a ghost writer.
Yeah, well, that's for damn sure. But he's been given this free house, or he will be, by his brother, and a lot of... Now, if he's got this mysterious wealth, which we keep being told he has, why is he giving him a free house?
Well,
why doesn't he say to his brother, the same as Fergie, make your own way?
Listen to this from the Daily Beast. I'm told that ex-Prince Andrew has received a handsome payoff worth millions in return for surrendering his lease on Royal Lodge. One friend said Andrew made it clear that he needed to be financially recompensated for surrendering the remaining 50 years of his lease on one of England's finest homes. The lease was his daughter's inheritance and an asset, and in this country you can't seize people's assets. Charles was always going to pay him off, and he has done what he should have done in the first place. Another friend of both...
Who wrote
Sarah,
this? Was it an American? Because you can seize people's assets
Tom
in
Sykes,
this country.
Tom Sykes. Yeah. But they said the pension is handsome.
Well, all right, that's one story. Here's what I think happened. If you don't move out of Royal Lodge, Andy, I'm being the king now, If you don't move out... No, hang on, what was he doing with his hand in one pocket? If you don't move out of Royal Lodge, Andrew, I'm going to strip your daughters of their princess titles. That is why he's moving out.
I think you are under the impression that King Charles is much more confrontational than he is.
Yeah, well,
These were negotiations.
I'm giving him a little bit more resolve than he's actually got.
These were negotiations from their teams, and I don't know if he would, you know, Charles genuinely loves Beatrice and Eugenie, you know, wanted to ensure that they weren't as much as possible affected by all of this. Otherwise, he could have stripped them. He could have stripped them of their titles.
Yeah, but that was the threat to Andrew. I'll give Andrew, to be fair to him,
because Prince William was accused of doing that, and his team came out and said, absolutely not. We did not threaten to take the girls' titles.
Well, they may have to. Because they're both Eugenie and Beatrice's finances, their personal finances, are being ethically, forensically examined. So if they've had their fingers in the murky financial trough, you know, because Andrew used to take them on his weird visits to Arab countries and the Stan country, Kazakhstan and all that, where he seems to have this network of strange billionaires who give him money, took them. He always took them, and there's on record that they received some pretty lavish gifts from some of these people. If their finances, they're being ethically examined right now, if their finances turn out to be dodgy, they won't be princesses for much longer either.
Well, I mean, that is a huge concern, and I think that that's something that's already in motion, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Those questions are being asked, and people are already forensically combing over some of those transactions and relationships to date.
Yeah, and just finally, Kinsey, thanks for coming in so early, by the way. I really do appreciate it. The prospect of prison, I mean, it is realistic. It genuinely is. Andrew Lowney, who wrote, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, just said there is so, as you said, there is so much more to come out. Now, he stands accused of sexually assaulting Virginia Roberts, as she was then, in London. Now, people don't get away with that in this country. We're very fond of our historical convictions, our historical police investigations. There's a prospect that Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor could end up behind bars.
Yeah, I mean, that is a possibility. Watch this space is really the only thing I can say. It would be such a devastating thing to see the king have to watch all of this unfold, knowing that he waited so long for this job. But people want to hold the powerful accountable, and this is one of those instances where if he really is guilty of this, it's appalling that he's spent the last few years just with his feet up, watching airplanes, playing Call of Duty, at shooting parties with his friends, riding around on his family's horses, and, you know, not having any consequences to suffer any consequences for his actions.
Exactly right, and I think, I mean, there is this last thing. So the one thing we can say that both I keep wanting to call him Prince Andrew, for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson, as she only is now, this is not over, is it? It's not over. Their nightmare is far from over. I think there will be a police investigation into both of them, certainly into Andrew, and who knows where that may take them. But this is extraordinary. And that last point, Kinsey, again, thanks for coming in. There's just this feeling that the Queen was this rock for so many years, 7 decades, that kept the royal family anchored and stable. And she's gone, and ever since she died, it seems to have fallen apart at the seams. The king seems to be finding a backbone now, but he better find one more and more going forward, because this isn't over, and he better get his act together. Kinsey, great to see you. You're on your way back to the States tomorrow, yeah? I
am, yeah.
And then you're returning.
Yes.
When are you returning?
I don't want to tell everybody.
Yeah, all right. Well, all right. Okay. Well, when you do, oh yeah, I forgot. This.
Yes.
Nice.
Are you telling me that when I return, I'm going to have a lot of fruit spread waiting for me?
I was actually sort of asking you personally because we've got to get together. Shouldn't really do it on air. But anyway, let me know off air.
Yeah.
So this.
Yes.
As ever, it's Meghan's festive fare with sprinkles of Highgrove. This so it compares the royal estates, the Duchy of Cornwall's honey. Highgrove, that's the King's honey, to her as ever honey. Highgrove honey is £9. Hers is £24.
And Highgrove is sold out, you know?
So, yeah, and so forth. All of these scented candles, they all, first of all, they all look pretty much the same.
Yeah, identical.
All of her products look the same as the royal products, and all of her products cost twice as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean...
Talking of grifters, how you doing, Meghan?
Exactly. This is, it looks so desperate, the way that she carbon copies
I didn't realise, I mean, we knew about the extraordinary expense of these items. I mean, quite why she thinks anyone's going to pay $64 for a candle.
And honestly, I might pay $1,000. I might pay $1,000 for a huge box of royal champagne or royal wine. Yeah. But I'm not going to pay $1,000 for Montecito.
Yeah. What did I say? What did I say to you? I said it to you twice now. I'm quite pleased with this phrase. In the words of George Michael, my belief is this could be as ever's last Christmas. Thank you, Kinsey. A quick voice note. This is from Steve on Rachel Reeves, the other big story of the day.
Kev, this is Stephen Hart's. For me, the whole thing with Rachel from accounts is she's a millionaire, sitting there garnering at least 300 grand a year between her and her senior civil servant husband, $500,000 probably with expenses, another 40 grand a year, which is more than 90% of us even earn, on top for her house while she's living in a grace and favour apartment paid for by me and you and all of the rest of your listeners. It stinks. Champagne socialist, liar, fraud, lied on her CV. This is the reason this country's in such a mess, because our political class are all like this. The Tories are no better.
Well said, Steve. Exactly. One thing about Rachel Reeves and all this lot, socialists, they say they are. Socialists, they are not. They're capitalists making loads of money out of their many properties. Absolute disgrace. Let's go to break and we'll talk about Charlie Kirk when we come back.
educated person, despite what some people might think. She's a very intelligent person and would be seen desperately trying to do the right thing by the law. Of course she should. And this, I think, is a mistake, of course. But I think that it's embarrassing and difficult because it's the sort of thing when you're dealing with taxes and licensing and registration that has legs. And it's the sort of thing that investigative journalists perfectly legitimately can and will continue to look through. What are the unintended consequences?
Yeah, and especially after Angela Rayner not paying her full stamp duty.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's talk America now. Big story breaking over there, and that is that the accused shooter, the accused murderer of Conservative campaigner Charlie Kirk, friend of the president, a very famous podcaster, very famous influencer, who was, of course, shot at the Utah Valley University a couple of months ago. He is in court. His name is Tyler Robinson. He's been allowed to wear his own clothes because his lawyers have argued that him shackled and in jail garments would make him look guilty. Most people don't get that privilege. I wonder why that has been allowed. Mr. Robinson shall be addressed as one who is presumed innocent, said Judge Graff, Tony Graff, during these proceedings. So it's underway under conditions of great security. The defendant has previously been seen wearing a suicide protection vest because, of course, it's incredibly incendiary, this situation. A very, very emotional case. Let's go over to America and talk to a Republican strategist and former chair of the Nevada Republican Party, Amy Tarkanian. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is a massive story, of course, over there. Why do you think it is? I mean, most defendants don't get this privilege of being able to wear their own sort of civilian clothes in the dock. Why has Tyler Robinson been allowed this?
Well, it's very interesting because, as you stated, the majority of those who are on trial do not get to wear civilian clothing. And the fact that they use the excuse of, they want to make sure that he is given a fair trial. Everyone is given a fair trial. At least I would hope so. That's the way they're supposed to run. And yes, everyone is presumed innocent until they are actually proven guilty, if that's the case. But the fact that not only was he allowed to wear civilian clothes and to be somewhat more comfortable and a little bit more appealing to the eye, but he also was allowed to have, he still had to wear restraints, but he didn't have to wear them as tight. And so then that way he could still be viewed as somebody who possibly could be troublesome, but because he didn't have a past, they actually went easy on him with the restraints as well. And I know that a lot of people, including myself, were really hoping for transparency and to allow cameras inside the courtroom. When you have high profile cases like this, and I think the fact that we're now talking about it on talkTV, this isn't just in the United States of America, but people are curious and they want to see, what's actually unfolding. And that's not happening.
I mean, you have to say that his lawyers have done a great job on his behalf, because this is pretty unique in American history, a case. I mean, I used to live in the States. States, and the great thing about the States is everything is done in a very transparent, honest and open manner, so that the public can see justice being done. It doesn't always happen in this country, but it does in the States. So what you've got now, Amy, going on with Tyler Robinson, you've got the British system where nobody can see inside the court. The defendant seems to be getting some very special treatment. Unusual, really. Again, why? Why? I mean, why has the judge agreed to this? The judge said, Mr. Robinson shall be dressed, and his name is Tony Graff, by the way, shall be dressed as one who is presumed innocent. I'll tell you what this is going to do, Amy. It's going to set a precedent. Every defending attorney from now on will say, well, as in the case of Mr. Robinson, my client should not be dressed in prison clothes, nor should he or she be shackled.
Well, sure. I mean, you're definitely correct on this. If you're going to give favors to one, then I think it should be across the board. Maybe all should be given that privilege. But the fact of the matter is he was found on video running away from the scene of the crime, and he also has, been found in numerous text messages with his roommate / lover to be discussing what unfolded on that day. And he was the one discussing it, and he's the one who pointed out what he had done. So the fact that he's being given these privileges, it is outstanding. And I think people are kind of perplexed. And what this alludes to is for people to actually think, well, is this political? I'd like to find out the background on this judge. Why is he being granted this when so many thousands of others are not given this treatment?
Yeah, it seems like potentially critics will say this is a liberal judge giving a break to a man who allegedly killed a famous Conservative campaigner. That's what the critics will say. One last point, Amy. Any reporting over there about the state of mind of Tyler Robinson? We're hearing that he may have been or is suicidal. What is being reported over there?
Well, of course, once again, because we have lack of transparency, we're hearing pretty much similar to what you are. And, that also kind of, people kind of snicker a little bit about that because, then you can even go back into other different scenarios like Jeffrey Epstein. People always joke around and say he didn't kill himself, even though that's what the story was while he was behind bars. So now everyone automatically assumes because you have committed a major crime or possibly have committed a major crime, that is what's going to happen behind bars to you. You either will be murdered, you'll be taken care of one way or another, or you will commit suicide. So we're not exactly sure what's going on.
Suicide. Exactly right. Let me just say before you go, great to talk to you, Amy. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to play you a little film. This is your president, Donald Trump, trying to conduct interviews on Air Force One.
These are rough winds in Asia. I must tell you, this is a rough flight. We could have waited an hour, maybe. This is a little tough. These are tough conditions for interviews. They're going to be watching Trump. They're going to say he didn't look too good. He's got the shakes. I don't have the shakes, but people are going to think I do. You're pretty solid.
I'll tell you what, whatever people say about Donald Trump, he's a funny guy, Amy. What I wanted to ask you quickly before you go, he's talking, perhaps jokingly, about a third term. Before we get too jokey about that, more worryingly, well, actually, I don't find it worrying that Trump might get a third term. I think if he doesn't get a third term, he sort of will, because I suspect J.D. Vance will become the next president. But this is why I hope either J.D. Vance or Donald Trump are your next president. It's because of this, because old Kamala Harris has given an interview to the BBC making it pretty plain that she plans to stand for president again. I don't think she'll win that election, and that will be RIP the Democrats, won't it? What on earth is going on with that lot?
Well, you know, I guess when you have a really big ego and narcissism is something that you're used to swallowing, I guess a daily pill of that, then you may think that it's okay for you to continue to run, even though people really are sick of you. You know, Kamala, God bless her. I mean, she came out of the gate strong and then just did a nosedive when she announced her campaign, probably about a month or so into it. It was painful. She has no room to even be considering another rerun. I know many Democrat friends of mine have said not just no, but hell no. And they're looking for someone new. And, you know, to actually hear as a Republican that she's considering that, yes.
Yeah. The Republicans will absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen her interview with the BBC's Laura Kuenssberg, but if you haven't, have a look at it, because she's off again, word salading. You can't understand a word she's on about. She doesn't change, and if she becomes the Democrats' next presidential candidate, then I'm afraid not only will she lose, that'll be the end of the Democrats. Interesting times, though, Amy. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much. Amy Tarkanian there, Republican strategist and former chair of the Nevada Republican Party. Next up, Benedict Spence. We need to talk about Rachel Reeves, don't we? A huge story about the Chancellor. She's in big trouble here. She's been telling various stories about her private property down in South London. The story keeps changing. She's broken the law. If it wasn't for, she must be thanking God for Prince Andrew. If it wasn't for Prince Andrew, she'd be all over the front pages. We'll talk about that next, so stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're running late, so let's get through these stories quickly. Let's go straight over to political commentator Benedict Spence, who I am going to excuse having to talk about Prince Andrew, because we need to talk about Rachel Reeves. If it wasn't for, I called him Prince Andrew, he's no longer Prince. If it wasn't for Andrew, Rachel Reeves would be all over every front page. To its credit, she's still on the front page of the Daily Mail, which broke this story, Benedict, about her murky domestic rental affairs. She's got a house in South London, family home, moves into number 11 Downing Street, as chancellors do, and she's rented this place out. Turns out she didn't get a landlord's licence. She said at first, well, nobody told me about it. Then suddenly they did tell her about it, but they didn't carry through. So her story, she says, oh, dear Prime Minister, nobody told me I needed a licence. Very sorry about that. Prime Minister writes back, oh, yeah, well, you've been so a model of honesty and integrity. Your apology draws a line over over this entire murky affair. Next day, the letting agent said, well, we did tell her, but it was our fault because we didn't really follow up on it. So she then writes to the Prime Minister again to say, oh, well, I found another letter now with an email they did tell us about it, but we all sort of forgot about it. So he's written again to say, oh, well, your second apology and your second story proves what a fantastic person you are. We're drawing a line under it. I think what we're all saying is that when we break the law, we wish we had a Prime Minister to constantly exonerate us. She's getting special treatment, and I don't think she deserves it.
Yeah, you're quite right. Thank you for sparing me from having to talk about Andrew, by the way. That's a small mercy, but thank you so much. I think everybody's glad. I think, honestly, it's one of those things where I think people would be more than prepared to accept that maybe it was an oversight and maybe it wasn't her fault, if it wasn't for the fact that this is this is just another example of so many senior politicians in this Labour government who have made mistakes or dropped the ball or forgotten about sorts of things. Be it Louise Haigh, be it the former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner. There are so many people who just seem to, have casually done the wrong thing, and they just weren't aware that what they'd done was in fact the wrong thing, even though, in this case, she just happens to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer. These are the people that set the laws and ought to be aware of the laws of the country that govern the rest of us. As you say, the rest of us would not be permitted any kind of special treatment in this case. I think it's very clear that she should have to pay back the money that she's earned on this property because she didn't have a license. Now, technically her tenants will be able to claim back the rent that they have paid for living in an unlicensed property. You'd think actually that the first thing that the Prime Minister would do is slap people down a little harder for this, to say, look, we're supposed to be setting an example here. We're ostensibly going to be putting in, especially in the case of Rachel Reeves, huge tax rises in a couple of weeks on working people up and down this country. We're going to be trying to take huge amounts of their assets as well, if we can. I need to make a better example of people, the very people who are going to be stood at the lectern making these decisions. He's not done that. As you say, he's received one story, said, oh, that's all right then. Received another one and gone, oh, that's all right then. What exactly, what do we have here in terms of leadership? How are people supposed to sit there and listen to the rises that are coming down the line and think that it's in any way fair when he just turns a blind eye to this behaviour?
Yeah, don't forget, he is the Prime Minister who said that law makers cannot be law breakers. She's broken the law. Also the murky thing about this is that she's changed her story. The first thing was, well, the thing is, nobody told us that we needed to buy this £900 landlord's licence. That's particular to Dulwich Council. But what it's about is to make sure that your property is properly fireproofed and safe and all that. It's fair enough, I guess. Quite why it costs 900 quid, that's another matter. But you know what local councils are like, always trying to rip us off. But then suddenly it's like, oh, the letting agents go, well, we did tell her. Yeah, we did tell her, but it's our fault because we didn't really follow up on it. So she then says, oh, well, we've now found another email that sort of changes my story. And it's a bit like, get your act together. And once again, I just think this looks like, well, funnily enough, two-tier justice. One rule for the Westminster elite and another rule for the rest of us.
Yes, even if it is the letting agent that's, dropped the ball on this, she should have followed up. She should understand, at the very least, let's take the idea that this was all an innocent mistake. She knew that there was a licence that was needed, as you say. This has already been revealed now, and she's had to write to the Prime Minister to go, oh, whoops, yeah, maybe I did, and I maybe wasn't entirely forthcoming. But she knew that this licence existed, and as the incoming Chancellor of the Exchequer, as she was at the time, she should have known full well she would be placed under even greater scrutiny. It's not a good enough excuse to say, oh, well, it's the letting agent's fault. They dropped the ball, having made it clear to them that they would need this. She should have followed up, or her husband should have followed up and said, hang on, where is this license? Because I would have thought, just putting this out there, if you're renting out a property and you're told you need a license to do this, that would be a great big alarm bell going, this is something you need to do, and somebody may dig into it at some point. But the other thing that I would say is, and I also sort of talked about this at the time when it came to Angela Rayner, why isn't the big takeaway for Labour MPs and Labour ministers from all of these little things that life in the UK is becoming A, increasingly expensive, and B, unnecessarily complicated for an awful lot of people just trying to live their lives? Why is it that the takeaway from any of these things is never, I've been caught out, me, a senior government minister, the Chancellor, the Housing Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, even I have been caught out by these rules. Maybe we might want to change the rules for ordinary people. That's never the argument. It's instead just double down and make life more difficult, and we'll explain away as we go.
And then they'll come up with their time-honoured phrase, lessons have been learned, lessons are never learned. Benedict, great to talk to you. Benedict Spence, their political commentator. Next, we're going to talk about a big demonstration planned for Birmingham and fears that Britain's second city is becoming increasingly Islamified. That next, stay tuned.
migrant crisis isn't some abstract story playing out in Westminster. It's hitting our towns, our streets, and our communities. Take Dover, the gateway to our nation. British families there watch dinghies arrive every day, with hundreds of young men stepping onto the beach as if it's an open door, while the locals struggle to see a GP or find a school place for their own children.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We need to go straight over to my next guest. He is the Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, Stephen Silverman. Stephen, I'm very sorry to have kept you waiting. We've been very busy with this Prince Andrew story, but I do think we need to cover this. There is a huge demonstration, pro-Palestine march planned for Birmingham, Britain's second city, on November the 6th, Saturday week. And it is being planned by this guy. Let's have a look at the TikTok video he has put up.
Are planning to do a complete shutdown of Birmingham on November 6th. I've heard activists from all over the country are going to be present in Birmingham on November 6th because they want to can unite.
That is, Stephen, a guy called Ahmad Yaqub. He is a solicitor, a lawyer who famously, or should I say notoriously, for a brief period of time represented the Manchester Airport cop beaters. He drives is a bit of a flash Harry. He drives a yellow Lamborghini. He's organising this march, which he says will bring Birmingham to a standstill. It promises to be a massive pro-Palestine march. What we need to talk about, I think, is the fear that Britain's second city is becoming increasingly Islamified after Aston Villa was forced by West Midlands Police to ban Tel Aviv fans for coming to the ground. You have the local MP, Ayub Khan, almost barely disguising his anti-Semitism, jumping up and down, delighted that this ban on Jewish football fans has been imposed. Do you fear, we had Robert Jenrick, the Justice Secretary, recently going to the Handsworth area of Birmingham, saying he barely saw another white face, that it is like an Islamic state there. Do you fear that Birmingham is becoming sort of Islamification central, the place that we have to worry about most in terms of this strange Islamification process?
Well, they're certainly doing everything they possibly can to make it a no-go area for Jews. I mean, let's be under no illusions as to what we're talking about here. This call for activists to bring Birmingham to a standstill is a call for extremists to gather to disrupt a game because it involves an Israeli football club and to abuse, harass and intimidate Jews who are going along to support it. I mean, look what happened in Tower Hamlets less than a week ago. The Metropolitan Police banned a UKIP rally from taking place there due to the concerns of the local community. That's something they have been telling the Jewish community for 2 years that they don't have the powers to do. Put that to one side. The local community said they would hold an anti-racism rally that would be a protest against hatred and against the far right. And what we saw was as proud and unashamed a display of Islamist extremism as we have seen since the authorities began caving into the mob. It was full of masked thugs chanting Allahu Akbar, chants of Zionist scum off our streets, and of course the perennial favourite of the anti-Israel hate merchants from the river to the sea, a thinly disguised genocidal call for the ethnic cleansing of Jews from their ancestral homeland. And this, I fear, is what we are going to see in Birmingham on the 6th of November. It's just the same thing now being repeated over and over again. And we're living in a kind of fantasy land at the moment where everybody with eyes and ears understands what's going on, but the authorities are either shutting their eyes to it or pretending that something else is happening. It's just an intolerable state of affairs.
It is, Stephen. Stephen, let's talk about this properly next week. I apologise for the brevity of this, but well said. Next up, more to come.
Your Majesty. Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. The phrase special relationship, seen from American eyes, the word special does not begin to do it justice. We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you.
Security remains the cornerstone of this special relationship. We have the deepest, most advanced defense relationship in the world.
As I said last night, the bond between our countries is like no other anywhere in the world. The United States and the United Kingdom have done more good on this planet than any two nations in human history.
We are working together to end the humanitarian catastrophe in the Middle East.
The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I am Mr. Kevin O'Sullivan. I'm in for Mike Graham, hosting Morning Glory, of course. And of course, the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, is now Mr. Andrew Mountbatten. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He's still got a hyphenated name. Mind you, most footballers have got hyphenated names now, so that doesn't mean much, does it, in terms of social status? But this all began to go badly wrong, didn't it? Back in 2019, when this idiotic, moronic, lying oaf, potentially a sexual abuser, probably is, isn't he? Let's face it. Everybody thinks he's lying. Sat down. There he is with her. He'd never met her. He's never met that girl he's got his arm round there. That was Virginia Roberts, as she was then, in Ghislaine Maxwell's house in London. Isn't that special? But anyway, he sat down for that interview with Emily Maitlis for Newsnight 2019, and he did admit that he does have one fault. Check it out.
You were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay. I've gone through this in my mind so many times. At the end of the day, with the benefit of all the hindsight that one could have, it was definitely the wrong thing to do. But at the time, I felt it was the honourable and right thing to do. And I admit fully that my judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable, but that's just the way it is.
His tendency to be too honourable. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Well, moving on, let's welcome to the show Mr. John Rentoul, Chief Political Commentator at The Independent. Hello, John.
Good morning, Kevin. I haven't seen that clip because I'm not interested in the royal family, so I've never watched that interview. But that is priceless.
I recommend it for the sheer comedy value. How does it feel now, Mr. Rentoul, to be on the same social status as the former Prince Andrew, who's now Mr. Windsor, Mountbatten Windsor? How does it feel?
Well, I'd like to extend that principle to other members of the royal family. I don't believe in the monarchy, and I think they should all follow suit.
Well, I need to get on to Rachel Reeves, but it's interesting you say that because the reason I think the King has finally realised he better get seriously tough with his disastrous brother is that a recent poll revealed that 52% of the British people now think because of Andrew we might as well ditch this lot.
52%?
Well, put it this way, that they felt that if Andrew hung around,
Right.
there would be trouble for the royal family. So,
I see. Yeah, no, but I mean,
is-
most of this country is staunchly royalist.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Well, it's being that staunch monarchism among the people of this country has been diluted by Andrew. That's why we're seeing suddenly, or at long last, strong action by the king.
What I think is surprising is how little it has been dented by the former Prince Andrew. I think people are remarkably resilient in their support for the monarchy. It's probably a bit like bands when I was a teenager. You know, if they become too popular, I didn't like them.
Yeah.
So if public opinion decided that they wanted to get rid of the monarchy, I'd probably be defending it.
Yeah, you old rebel, you. Yeah, so I believe that this is the point in the programme where I have to have a flaming row with you. Is that right? Well, let's not bother with that for once.
Rentals rumble.
Yeah, rentals rumble. Let's talk about Rachel Reeves, who, according to the Prime Minister's increasing numbers of letters of exoneration to her, also has a tendency to be too honourable. Seriously, I mean, look, the problem here is that she started, she was found out by the Daily Mail, so she writes this sort of traditional letter, oh, you know, Prime Minister oversight and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. Nobody told us about the fact we were supposed to get a £900 landlord's licence to rent out our private home in Dulwich, because, of course, the family moved to 11 Downing Street. Nobody told us. Then the letting agents, I think, thinking they would help her, came out and said, well, you know, we dropped the ball on it. You know, we said we'd have to get this, like we told Rachel and her husband have to get this licence. And then I'm afraid the member of staff in charge of their case suddenly resigned and we forgot all about it. Rachel suddenly writes back to the Prime Minister, oh, well, it turns out I did know about it. I've just found an email confirming that what I previously told you wasn't true. I did know about it, but of course it's not my fault. Well, here's another letter. Once again, Rachel, you proved yourself to be a person of unbelievable integrity and honesty, and I think your apology, once again, your second apology, draws a line under the whole affair. Now, you know, this isn't murder. This isn't the worst crime in the world, but she's broken the law, changed her story rather suspiciously, and all of us peasants around the country are thinking, well, when we break the law, if only we could have a Prime Minister to constantly exonerate us and write us a letter saying we're in the clear. It's one rule for them and one rule for the rest of us. People are annoyed about this.
Yeah, no, well, I agree with that last bit, Kevin. It's one rule for them and one rule for the rest of us. It's a much tougher rule for a politician than for a normal person. They're held to much higher standards.
Well, so why doesn't she resign? Why isn't she sacked? She's broken the law. She's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Doesn't seem to me she's being held up to...
You've just admitted it's not murder. It's not a serious offence. It's not a sacking offence. It's a bureaucratic oversight. The interesting question, I think. Well, there are two interesting
she's
questions.
She's broken the law. I mean, I know not massively, but she's broken the law. She's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. If this government had any integrity, if the Prime Minister had any integrity, which he clearly doesn't, he would sack her. If she had any integrity, we are having a row, aren't we? If she had any integrity, she would resign.
No, I completely disagree.
Lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. Who said that? Who said
Boris
that?
Johnson.
Who said that? It was Keir Starmer. She's a lawmaker. She's broken the law.
Yes. I agree. They're guilty. They're guilty of hypocrisy. Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak broke the law. I didn't think it mattered. I didn't think a bit of birthday cake in number 10 was a serious offence. I didn't think they should resign, but Labour called for them to resign.
Yeah.
Rachel Reeves said that Rishi Sunak should resign.
Therein lies the problem, John. Can I just play you a quick clip? This is said Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts, on Rule Bakers talking to Good Morning Britain in 2021.
And it now turns out that the very people at the top of government making these rules for everybody else didn't think that they applied to them.
All right, can I ask you...
don't think that we can have a situation where there's one set of rules for one group of people and another for everybody else.
Can I ask...
Well, the word hypocrisy springs to mind. I mean, seriously, John, you know, lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. She has broken the law.
Actually, because Boris Johnson
they
was
shouldn't
a
be,
lawbreaker.
should they?
Well, obviously they should avoid breaking the law if they can. But, you know,
in the ideal world, yes.
Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson didn't know they were breaking the law, and they, you know, it was a stupid law anyway. I mean, they passed it. It's Boris Johnson's fault. But
well, let's not talk about Boris Johnson. She who I admit has many faults. You know, I'm no fan of Boris Johnson. We have a prime minister now who lies as a hobby. But Boris Johnson made it a lifestyle. But surely, you know, she's essentially lied to the prime minister in that first.
No, she hasn't.
She did. She said, "I didn't know anything about it."
Kevin, you've got to be very careful with the L word. I've warned you lot before. A lie is a deliberate,
sorry, Your Honour.
No, look, she'd forgotten, or at least, or her husband hadn't told her that the estate agent promised to take care of this license.
Yeah.
So she inadvertently misstated the facts to the prime minister. That's not right.
You're sounding like a sort of mealy-mouthed politician. I inadvertently misstated the facts. That's code for That's code for I lied.
No, it's not. It's a completely
Well, why
different
did she
meaning of the
write to
word.
the Prime Minister saying I didn't know anything that nobody told me anything about?
She'd forgotten about it. It's
Oh,
a stupid,
come on.
It's a stupid, pettifogging,
Come
bureaucratic
on.
bit of rule.
She'd forgotten about it.
Well,
Really?
or she never knew. Or she never knew.
I
don't
wouldn't forget about that, would you? Yeah,
Yes,
what
of
I would
course.
be saying if I was her,
All
oh
these
my
local
God.
authority regulations. I mean,
Well, that's another issue. I mean, why is there all this red tape? I agree with that.
It's a ridiculous example of pettifogging.
It is. I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
But the other example that's closer to home that you could also quote at me if you like is Angela Rayner. How come Angela Rayner had to resign and Rachel Reeves didn't? Because I mean they're both guilty of exactly the same thing. Angela Rayner inadvertently didn't pay enough stamp duty because she thought she'd got rid of her home in her constituency. She didn't realise that putting it into trust for her son who's got disabilities meant that she would be liable for the higher rate of stamp duty. So her case is exactly the same in principle as Rachel Reeves. And yet Angela Rayner's been dispatched to the outer darkness and the Chancellor's still there.
Well, look, put it another way. Dan Hodges is saying today that she broke the law and then she misled the Prime Minister. I mean.
Well, that's better than using the L word. She inadvertently misled the Prime Minister because she'd either didn't know or had forgotten about the correspondence with the estate agents, which was all handled by her husband.
You know, John, if you believe that she forgot that, then I've got some swampland to sell you in Florida. I mean,
I'm not interested in
I missed the day that you were born yesterday. I mean, seriously, come on. I mean, look.
You started this, Kevin. You started this by saying it wasn't a serious offence.
No, it's not. But you know, arguably, breaking into the Watergate building wasn't in itself a serious offence. When they started lying about it, it's in politics so often. It is not the actual offence; it's the subsequent cover-up. She has committed an offence and she's trying to cover it up. That's what it looks like to. That's what it looks like to the public, John.
Well, in that case, the public's wrong. I mean, that's very simple. I mean, she hasn't done anything seriously wrong. She should stay in post, but I don't think Angela Rayner should have been sacked either.
Okay. Technically, she wasn't sacked, was she?
Oh, sorry, she shouldn't have resigned.
Yeah,
you're quite
she
right.
was resigned, as they say.
She quite honourably, perhaps she rather than
she's like Prince Andrew.
Yeah,
if she's got a fault, she's too honourable, isn't she? No. But that's another good point that you're inadvertently making, if I may say so, John. That if Angela Rayner had to fall on her sword and walk the plank. For that kind of, if you like, inadvertent oversight about her stamp duty, why doesn't Rachel Reeves have to do the same? This is pretty inconsistent, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, it's not only hypocrisy because she called for Rishi Sunak to resign. It's inconsistent on the Prime Minister's part because he allowed Angela Rayner to resign. He should have refused to accept Angela Rayner's resignation.
How do you think that would have gone down with the public?
Well, not well, but I mean, I think the public is mistaken on issues like this. I think politicians are held to a higher standard of account than
well,
normal
come
people.
on, John, you're contradicting yourself. I would
No,
agree
I'm
with
not.
that. Therefore, we shouldn't be dismissing this as just a minor infringement. Because politicians are held to a higher account, she shouldn't be allowed to break the law and then say, oh, I forgot that they told me.
No, I think I don't think
I'm winning this argument, aren't I?
I don't. No, I don't think so. I don't. You started off by saying it wasn't a sacking offence.
I didn't say
I'd stick with
that.
that.
See,
But
look,
you
it's
said it wasn't.
typical Westminster type. I didn't say that. I said
You
it
said it
wasn't a
wasn't murder.
massive crime. I didn't say it wasn't a sacking offence. I say it
I'm
is
going to
a
misquote
sacking
you,
offence.
Kevin.
Listen, how dare you? Right, this is what Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts, tweeted last week. I welcome Leeds City Council's decision to expand their selective landlord licensing policy to include the Armley area. This scheme means private landlords in the area will be required to, by law, to obtain a licence for any residential property they are seeking to let. That's a pretty incendiary tweet to have sent just last week. She's
It was 2 years ago. It's 2 years ago,
Well,
Kevin. But I mean, you're absolutely right.
That's when she tweeted it, though.
No, it was 2 years. 2 years ago. It was
Well, okay, so this is her. I'm not sure about that. I thought it was last week, but anyway, this is she's on the case. She's on the case about a landlord licensing policy.
Yeah.
But she says first of all, no one told her about it in Dulwich, and then suddenly they did tell her about it, but she forgot. Now, as someone who is dead keen on landlord licensing, she should have been across her own landlord licensing, surely. Come on.
Of course she should. Yes, I mean she showed woeful lack of attention to detail. It's not a good sign in a Chancellor of the Exchequer. You want someone who's across the detail and able to pay attention to obscure bits of pettifogging over-regulation. But I don't think it's a sacking offence.
Well, but I mean, you and I are going to differ on this, obviously, but I don't see how you can say, I said it's a relatively minor offence. If it was me, or you, no big deal. But you said politicians must be held to a higher standard.
I said they are held to a higher standard.
All right, they are.
It's right that they are.
It's right that they are, particularly if you're the second most important politician in the country, the Chancellor of the Exchequer. So given that, being held to a higher standard, she should not be allowed to break the damn law.
No, I don't agree with that. I think
So she's not being held to a higher standard then.
Well,
you and I, it would make not much difference to our lives. What you're saying, because politicians are held to a higher standard, it should make a difference to our life.
No, I don't. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in most cases, this would never even have come to light. I mean, most people. I mean, I presume there are loads of landlords in Dulwich who haven't got a licence because they didn't realise they had to have one. And the world just keeps turning in its axis, and they get there's no comeback to them. Whereas Rachel Reeves has people screaming for her resignation, so she's held to a higher standard, and quite rightly. But I don't think she should resign because I just don't think it's a serious offence.
I mean, she'll probably get away with it. I mean, you know what it is.
I think she already has got away with it.
Yes, of course she's got away with it because the Prime Minister. She's got her personal exonerator. People around the country are going, wow, wish we could have a Prime Minister to forgive us every time we break the law. Actually, I've just been done for driving at 24 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour limit. Can I get Keir Starmer to write to Chertsey Council and let me off?
Well, that wasn't inadvertent, was it?
Well,
you should have known what speed
you were going. Of course it was inadvertent. When people do 24 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour limit, that's inadvertent. This wasn't inadvertent. She knew about it. She said she didn't. Then she said she did.
Well, she said her husband had found an email. Yeah. But I mean, actually, the point about that email is it does exonerate her because the point
it doesn't really, not given her changing story.
the estate agents had undertaken to take care of it.
Yeah, well, I wonder what new story she's going to come up with tomorrow. I mean, she keeps changing her story. Therein lies the problem. I suspect on this issue, John, you and I are going to have to agree to disagree. But it's always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. Thank you very much. The Independent's chief political commentator, John Rentoul, there. Next up, we're going to talk to my friend. She's a rape gang victim, Ellie Reynolds. That next. Stay tuned.
The worry is, I hope that he's put a gagging order on them, because we don't want them going out writing books.
I think Andrew is out of control. I think that what all this kind of literature that's come out about him just in the past year has shown is that the man is completely out of control. And you're right, I think that a book will be shopped around and he will be airing the royal family's dirty laundry. Do you agree with that?
I think this could be Prince Harry on steroids.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, my friend, the rape gang victim who has turned into a very impressive campaigner. She shared the TV screens in a press conference the other day with Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, and she shares his concerns, in fact, I think the nation's concerns, that something is going very badly wrong with this national public inquiry that Labour promised us that Keir Starmer promised us back in June. Hasn't happened, isn't going to happen anytime soon. They can't even find anyone to chair the proceedings, and the victims panel, as they're called, which are girls like poor Ellie, who suffered from these rape gangs. I think it's now 4 of them, maybe 5 have resigned, quit the inquiry, because they say that it's like deja vu. They're going through the whole contempt, they're being ignored, and you know, it's almost like the nightmare has been back for them, and so they've quit, saying that this inquiry looks as if it's turning into a Labour cover-up of what really happened. Welcome, Ellie Reynolds. Hi, Ellie.
Hi, are you all right?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. Let me ask you this first, because I know that you're up on the situation in London. The Metropolitan Police announced last week that they are reviewing 9,000 historical potential alleged rape gang cases. In other words, there may be 9,000 victims here in the capital city who still haven't got justice, and the Met Police, the police force here, say we are now looking into all of those cases. So potentially 9,000 victims here in the city. Meanwhile, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, Sir Sadiq Khan, as he's ludicrously called, says, "Oh no, we don't have a problem. We never had a problem in the capital city." Now, you know about this, obviously. We did have, and we still do have. What do you think about the fact the mayor is denying it? It's like what happened, isn't it, up in the north where you're from in Barrow, in Rotherham, in Rochdale, where the authorities just said, nothing to see here, no problem. What do you feel about watching this mayor down here do the same thing?
I think my opinion on him is very similar to my opinion on Jess Phillips. The quicker that you stand down, the better. I don't understand how he could even deny that there's not a problem in a capital city. We're looking at the majority of the towns and cities in the UK. 9,000, you know, it's a hell of a lot of girls and potential boys in this as well. But what you've got to question is how many have gone unnoticed as well. So 9,000, I would say, is your absolute minimum for a capital city like London.
Yeah, indeed. And in terms of this inquiry generally, I mean, as it stands, in its current form, with you and 3 other girls, I think it may be 4 now, who've all quit, I mean, do you think in its current form, with Jess Phillips still in position as the alleged safeguarding minister, the Prime Minister, of course, saying he has full confidence in her and she's not going anywhere, with her still there, you girls quitting, nobody to chair it, they're saying, oh, we hope to get it going next year. I mean, the way it's looking, it's just not going to happen at all, is it?
No, I have a lot of doubt about that inquiry now. I think, you know, Keir Starmer is absolutely fine going and backing Jess Phillips. Not once have any of them taken any accountability. Not one of them has recognised the problems that we've got here and why we feel the way that we do. Keir Starmer took 10 seconds to copy and paste a letter to us all. So with the inquiry going ahead next year, I'm not confident whatsoever in it anymore, and I think nobody is. Obviously, we've had people come out and say that they will only, you know, stay on the panel if Jess stays on the panel. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. That's absolutely fine. But I think the way that we know it's corrupted now and the way that we knew it was set up from the start, I don't understand how anybody expects us to have any faith whatsoever.
And, you know, last week, it was really all over the front pages, as you girls made it clear that you're appalled and disgusted by Jess Phillips. So don't forget, when you and the other girls, what you were essentially saying is that what you want to do, obviously, is focus on the people who victimised you, you know, the members of the rape gangs. And these rape gangs, and I know that this was the case in your instance, these rape gangs were made up predominantly of Muslim men of Pakistani origin. You want to point the finger at them. It's been made clear to you that what Labour want from this inquiry is to widen the remit so the finger is not pointed at Muslim men of Pakistani origin. That's why you've all quit. Now, when you said that, you all put it in your letter, and said that they've been trying to widen the remit, they've been ignoring us, they've been treating us like contempt. It's like just like the bad old days. Jess Phillips, the alleged safeguarding minister, stood up in the House of Commons and said, "That's not true. We are not widening the remit." In other words, essentially accusing you all of liars, of being liars, which I know made you personally furious. Now, since that fallout, have you heard from Jess Phillips? Has she made any attempt to make amends or to sort this mess out?
No, absolutely not. I've been trying to meet with Jess Phillips for over a year. Every time I get close to it, she cancels. Since she stood up in the House of Commons and degraded us and demoralised us, we've heard nothing. Well, I haven't heard anything. No, I think, again, I have my own personal opinions now, and I think the way that she conducted herself was disgusting.
Unless she is removed or she quits or is sacked as safeguarding minister, the minister, if you like, in charge of this inquiry, there's no way you girls are going back.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it was one thing to call us liars. It was one thing to gaslight us. It was one thing to try and widen the remit. At the end of the day, we shouldn't be afraid to say these are Muslim men that have raped us. And it's now getting out of hand at the fact that we can't say that, because in my opinion, when they start collecting the data, they're going to start picking up behaviour patterns, and that is essential. It's essential. But widening it is almost, they want it to go away, and it's not going away now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I think, Ellie, for what it's worth, I think it's absolutely disgusting. I know what's going on here. This is a Labour government that doesn't want to point the finger at the Muslim community because it wants the Muslim vote. And it's people like you that deserve justice. And they say that there may be as many as 250,000 victims, mostly young, vulnerable white girls around the country. So they deserve justice, and we have a government that is trying to take justice away from them, prevent justice for them, including you. Ellie, it's always a real privilege and a pleasure to talk to you. We'll talk again soon. Ellie Reynolds there. She's from Barrow-in-Furness. She suffered, as so many other girls did suffer. Now they're looking for justice, and this government isn't providing it for them. It's a scandal. It's a scandal all over again. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk to Anne Widdecombe, Reform UK's redoubtable member. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's go straight over to my next guest. She is the Immigration and Justice Advisor to Reform UK, former Tory Minister, of course, the redoubtable, the famous Anne Widdecombe. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, I want to talk to you about this because this is at the heart, I think, of our national malaise when it comes to our migrant crisis. It is the kind of self-deceit that Liberals, and I use small l, try to wrap around our migrants. There's no problem. It's just right-wing extremists trying to inflame a situation that just isn't there. So this is an organisation called the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. I think we tried to get any of them on, but I don't think they said yes. Saima Saida, she's a luminary of this organisation. It says that this is a manufactured panic pushed by some politicians and parts of the media to distract from what actually matters to people. Across our communities, we share the same priorities: making ends meet, assessing healthcare, decent schools. We need to end scapegoating and look for solutions. So she says that concerns, or when the media or politicians talk about the migrant crisis, it is manufactured, a manufactured panic. That's a disgraceful thing to say, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's completely false. If you actually look at the figures they've produced to uphold their view, they've said that only 25% of people think that immigration is a problem locally. But then they rather ignore the fact that 52% of exactly the same people think it's a problem nationally. And that is just a distortion, because if you ask me, do I think immigration is a problem, I'm going to say yes, I think it's right up there at the top when it comes to a national problem. If you then ask me, do I see it as a problem locally? Well, no, it hasn't reached remotest Dartmoor, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I still think that it is a major problem nationally. So they're being very selective with their figures, very selective.
Because that's what they want to do, Anne. That's what they want to do. And the truth is, what we now know is traditionally politicians, particularly from the Labour Party, would say, oh, no, it's the economy, stupid. That's what everybody's worried about. It's the cost of living. And of course they are. But we do know that those traditional number one priorities among the electorate have been overtaken by the migrant crisis, and events this week alone have brought that into sharp focus. We have more and more asylum seekers are being charged with or convicted of very serious crimes. We have to be careful about what happened on Monday, but a poor man, a 49-year-old guy, Wayne Broadhurst, just walking his dog in a quiet suburban side street in Uxbridge to the west of London, was suddenly viciously stabbed to death, multiple stabbings. And the suspect arrested turns out to be a Afghani migrant who arrived here 5 years ago illegally on the back of a lorry and was subsequently granted asylum leave to stay in this country. We hear these stories time and time again. Last week, a migrant, an asylum seeker, stabbed to death a poor girl who worked in his asylum seeker hotel 23 times with a screwdriver. He's gone to jail now, but was filmed afterwards dancing and whooping with excitement. More and more of these cases. That's why the migrant crisis has overtaken the cost of living and the economy in the concerns of this nation.
Look, it wouldn't matter if they didn't commit any crimes at all. What matters is the vast numbers that are coming here, not legally, but completely illegally, coming from a completely safe country, which when I last looked is what France was, and having to be accommodated. They're having to be accommodated in hotels. Actually, they don't have to be, but they are being. accommodated in hotels. And the problem is extremely visible. You only have to look at the news, you only have to look at the sort of pictures you're showing now, and people know that we've got a massive problem, which, bless us all, impacts on the economy. We have to pay for the hotels. We have to pay for their living expenses. We have to pay for them to use the NHS. So the idea that immigration is somehow just sitting on its own in a bubble away from the economy is just plain daft. Everybody knows that, except these sort of organisations who want to try and paint a completely false picture, even when their own figures show that picture to be false.
Yeah, really good point there, Anne, that actually the migrant crisis is intertwined with the economy increasingly. We only found out this week, Home Office, a report by the Home Office, or on the Home Office, revealing that projected costs going forward of accommodating migrants has gone up from £4.5 billion to £15 billion, and that's because civil servants at the Home Office have had rings run round them by sharp private contractors, these people who are providing hotels and various other services for migrants, for asylum seekers. So we've got slapdash governing of this crisis, of the way we deal with these people, and that is affecting the economy. So yes, we're paying for this through the nose, and people don't like it. Meanwhile, another sort of another case this week highlighted another problem we've got. That's Hadush Kabatu, the Ethiopian asylum seeker, who of course was convicted of 2 sexual assaults in Epping. He was staying at the notorious Bell Hotel there. Sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl. A brave lady, a local lady, stepped in to try and save her, so he turned around and sexually assaulted her too. He got a year in jail. Quite a strange sentence when you consider that subsequent protests, 2 of the protesters, they got 2 years because they were seen to have been overly violent. 2 years for protesting, 1 year for sexually assaulting 2 local women. There is Hadush Kabatu. He was deported after he was ludicrously released from Chelmsford Jail by mistake last Friday. And that brings me to my point. There's a story today that foreign prisoners are clogging up our jails. We've got about 80,000 people in jail around the country, males around the country. 10,000 of them, around 10,000, are foreigners. Now, if Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, as she boasted this week, is so brilliant at deporting people. She said, I pulled every lever to get this man out of the country quickly. Actually, Anne, it was very easy. We've got a returns agreement with Ethiopia. But she boasted, I did it so quickly, so efficiently. So meanwhile, the Labour government is busy releasing murderers and rapists and drug dealers because the cells are so clogged up. Well, Shabana, if you're so good at deporting people swiftly and efficiently, how about some of these 10,000 foreigners who are in our prisons? Why don't you start deporting them? That would free up cell space. Then you wouldn't have to keep releasing murderers and rapists. Is that rocket science? Am I right there?
Well, it's certainly not rocket science to say that if you can clear the jails of foreign nationals, then you can imprison more of those who deserve to be imprisoned. But there are all sorts of subsidiary strands to that. You don't want to deport somebody who's not going to go into prison in his own country if what he has committed is a serious offence.
Can I just stop you there for a second, Anne? Sure. Sorry to interrupt. Sure. But Hadush Kabatu, and I personally find this unsatisfactory. I know it's a good idea to get him out of the country, but he sexually assaulted 2 innocent women in Epping. It is a fact that now that we have deported him back to Ethiopia, we had to give him £500 to persuade him onto the plane because he said, if you don't, I'll kick up a storm and I'll appeal. So we gave him 500 quid to persuade him onto the plane. Now that he's got back to Ethiopia, guess what's happened? He just walks free. That's it, he's walked free. So when we deport these foreigners, I'm afraid a lot of them will not continue their sentences. That perhaps is another issue, but the public are saying, Hey, Ms. Mahmood, if you're so good at deporting foreigners swiftly and efficiently, what about the other 10,000 prisoners, foreign prisoners, clogging up our jail space?
Well, I was just trying to point out to you, and you rightly interrupted to talk about what's happened with the latest deportees, but to point out to you that if somebody is there for serious offences, now this chap was sentenced to 12 months, there'll be people there who'll be sentenced to much longer than that. You do want to make sure that they're going to pay a penalty. I mean, that is one of the reasons why deportations are held up. There are all sorts of other reasons. They're not all Ethiopians. You've got a lot of difficulty with some countries taking back their nationals, or rather not taking back their nationals. So, I mean, there are complications, but you are right overall that if we could free up space, then it would go some way, it wouldn't go the whole way, go some way towards sorting out the prison overcrowding crisis, but that actually in a way is a dodge. Because what we actually need is enough prison places to satisfy the demands of the court. The two sets of responsibilities are divided. The courts and the courts alone decide who should and who should not go to prison. The responsibility of the government, of whatever party it may be, the responsibility of the government is to supply the places to meet those court decisions. At the moment, they're not doing that, and they shouldn't be let off.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Can I just ask you about this? I got a text here. This is about reform. It's from one of our audience, Scott in Berkshire. He says, wasn't it Reform a few months ago that said they would be willing to fund an unofficial private inquiry into the rape gang scandal? I think they need to do that. I think that's what needs to be done. If the government aren't going to do it, then someone else needs to step up and do what's right. I'm asking this because just before you came on, I spoke to Ellie Reynolds, a very eloquent rape gang victim, who is dismayed, in despair about this Labour government dragging its heels, not giving them the justice they require. The public inquiry they promised hasn't happened yet. 5 months ago, Keir Starmer said it was going to happen. They can't even find anyone to chair it. And what the victims are worried about, bearing in mind that Ellie and 3 others victims, that's Ellie there, resigned from the inquiry last week, saying that the government has been putting pressure on them, saying we want to widen the remit. And what they mean by that, the girls want to focus on the people that did this to them. And they were the rape gangs, who were predominantly comprised of Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. Ellie and the other girls say they are quite patently trying to avoid that, and that's not good enough. So I think what Scott in Berkshire is saying is Reform UK offered to fund an unofficial private inquiry that I think would go about these affairs in a proper way and focus on the perpetrators. If you offered that, why don't you do it?
Oh, well, I think the question is that we've been waiting for the government to see sense. My belief is that if we did start to implement this, the government would come to its senses right away, but it wouldn't be particularly expeditious. That is to say, it would drag the whole thing out. And that is the last thing that the victims deserve. We know what's going on. The government doesn't ever, this Labour government, doesn't ever like to point the finger at immigrant communities. It hates doing that. And on this occasion, we know that the perpetrators came from a certain section of British society. And therefore, we shouldn't be afraid to say it.
Exactly, and well said. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on. That is Anne Widdecombe, Immigration and Justice Advisor to Reform UK. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the sport. Big weekend of football. Big game at Craven Cottage. Fulham against Wolves. We better win that one. I'm a Fulham fan, you might have noticed. So yes, we'll talk sport next, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and I've got a message for you. Welcome back to this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. More politics, more Prince Andrew after the 9 o'clock news. But first, it's this.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Well, let's go straight over to the Sun's excellent Manchester United correspondent, Sam Luckhurst. Welcome, Sam.
Morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Your team, or the team that you cover, are away to Notts Forest. No love lost between the two managers. Tell us about that.
Yes, it was unusual that both managers had their press conferences on Thursday for a Saturday game, but it worked out quite well for us in that Sean Dyche he had a lot to say about Ruben Amorim while Dyche was out of work. He said that he possibly could have won more points with United. He made this half-hearted pitch for the job, even on Gary Neville's podcast, something like, I think that was back in May, but then he doubled down on what he said about 9 weeks ago. So all of a sudden, he's going to be in the firing line on Saturday. We're coming up against United side that are in good form. Forest are not in good form. They're still in the relegation zone. That said, Amorim did kind of brush it off, but he did effectively accuse Dyche of playing up to, essentially creating an act whilst being a pundit and not being totally authentic with his views.
Amorim, of course, has always been criticised for sticking to his rigid format, and he's now sort of saying, I'm glad I did because things seem to be coming right. Is he correct in that? I mean, they've had a good run now. So what I guess I'm asking you is, will that continue? Will they beat Notts Forest?
I think the perception of them has certainly changed. That United are going into games now, and certainly with this weekend's game, you are expecting them to win, which is a strange thing to say.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Unusual, yeah.
It's been so long since people felt that way. But also it is an indication of the doldrum years that they've been mired in. With Amorim, sometimes his formation, it can work well. I think the criticism of it has mainly been that he just never deviates from it. He will never change it, whatever the score, whatever the flow of the game. And that was one of the problems in the Brentford debacle when they last lost a game. But at the moment, they're on a 3-game winning run. The 4 signings that came in the summer are doing, by and large, very well. The new keeper coming in, that's coincided with this winning run as well. So for the time being, it's looking good for United, and that's probably why the director of football, Jason Wilcox, has stepped out of the shadows and actually spoken on the record for I think the first time since he joined the club.
Yeah, interesting game. I reckon United will probably win it. Let's talk quite swiftly, if we can, Sam, about the other big story is the sort of decline and fall of Liverpool. I mean, they got beaten the other night in the Caribou by Crystal Palace 3-0, admittedly because Arne Slot, the Liverpool manager, put out a team based on what was called bizarre team selection. I mean, traditionally managers don't put their strongest 11 out for a Caribou Cup, but nevertheless, he took that principle to strange levels. 3-0 defeat, bad for the club. He's forked out £500 million. They've lost, what is it now, 4 games in a row in the Premiership, now a Caribou Cup. What is going on at Liverpool?
Well, it feels like that they're having their transitional year a year later than expected. Nobody really imagined that they would win the title last season under Slot. Credit to him, he made some laudable tweaks to the team. He inherited a hell of a squad from Jurgen Klopp. He also had a couple of players who were so motivated, whether it's Trent Alexander-Arnold wanting to leave on a high or Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk wanting a salary hike and a new contract. So you can look at it in a rather selfish, through a selfish prism regarding those players, but then they have gone and spent a hell of a lot of money, but I do feel as though they've got the balance wrong in that they didn't need Florian Wirtz, Ekitike and Alexander Isak. It feels like a little bit like the Real Madrid era when it was the Galacticos and they would just try and buy as many toys as possible.
They've got Liverpool got Villa tomorrow, so that'll be an interesting game. Sam, great to talk to you. Thank you very much, Sam Luckhurst, the Sun's sports correspondent. Kevin Holloway from the Tories next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We've got some more about Andrew later in the show. Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, as he is now. We'll be talking to Alexander Larman. He's the author, historian and literary editor of Spectator World, big expert on the royal family. Also, Rafe Heidel-Manku will be in to also, he's a student, an expert on the history of the royal family. We'll talk about what this means. This is unprecedented. This has never happened before. I mean, the greatest sort of disgrace and step down that we ever saw before was, of course, Edward VIII, who renounced the throne in order to go off with Meghan Markle. Sorry, Wallis Simpson. But, you know, he retained his titles, or retained a title and his royal status, if you like. Never before has this happened. Never before has such shame been visited, ignominy, on a member of the royal family. He is now just a Mr. Doesn't have any titles, he's nothing. He's a commoner. He's become a commoner. Why are we called commoners, by the way? Sod that. But he's a commoner, just like the rest of us. Right, let's go. So all that's still to come. And let's go over to our next guest. He's the chairman of the Conservative Party. He's waiting to come on now, Kevin Holloway. I'm going to ask him what he thinks about... I keep wanting to say Prince Andrew. I keep... you know, it's hard to... It's like when... Prince Charles became King Charles, it was difficult to get used to the change. He's not Prince Andrew anymore. We'll talk to Kevin about that and potentially other issues as well. So let's listen in the meantime while Kevin waits to join us to a voice note. This is from Matt on Prince Andrew. Oh no, on Andrew.
Morning, Kev. Matt in Hove here. I've got an idea. Why doesn't old King Sausage Fingers send Andrew, Windsor, Mountbatten to a migrant hotel instead of Sandringham? He's just the same. He's just a slobby little layabout that does nothing all day, doesn't work, and we pay for it all. Yeah, don't send him to Sandringham to live on a lovely estate and probably play golf every day. Put him in a migrant hotel. It's the same thing. We're paying for it all. That would be absolutely superb.
Well, you know, Matt's making a good point there. You know, we're all sort of still wondering about Prince. Stop saying that, Kevin, about Andrew's murky finances, which have got every potential to be totally illegal and in need investigation. But we keep being told, oh, don't worry, he's got money. You know, he's got money. Well, if he's got money, if that is true, why is the king all set about to give him a free house in Sandringham? I mean, why? Why free? If he's got money, why is he getting it free? Honestly, these royals, they cannot get over the fact that they don't necessarily, by God's divine right, have the ability to just live off the fat of the land, you know, the privileges, entitlement. You know, if I was in this kind of world of trouble like Andrew, you know, somebody wouldn't say to me, well, Kev, I've got this really nice house, you're going to have to live there for free. I mean, Fergie, his ex-wife, dreadful woman that she is, she has been literally banished, cast out, and told she'd have to make her own arrangements. Why isn't Andrew being told that? I still think there are unsatisfactory aspects to this whole saga. People say that's so the king is right to have got so strict. He's right to have finally swung the axe. Well, 2 weeks ago, the king seemed to be very satisfied with the fact, and made a big announcement of it, that Andrew was prepared not to use his titles. We're also told, oh, well, he can't stop being called prince, because that's his birthright. The king, the reason that he's not going to, is only going to sort of not use his titles rather than be officially stripped of them, is that would take an act of Parliament, and the king doesn't want to bother Parliament with that. That would take about 10 minutes. So that doesn't stack up. So 2 weeks later, oh, the king can officially strip him of his titles. Oh, we can officially strip him of being called prince. The rules seem to keep changing. What is that all about? I mean, what you've got is a royal family in full survival mode, desperately trying to save themselves, changing the rules as they go along. You know, I've got a lot of sympathy for the king, but he hasn't handled this well, and he continues not to handle it well. Don't give him a free house. Tell him to go and find his own place, like Fergie. That's what we'd like. I mean it. Let's go to our next guest. We're still waiting to get in touch with Kevin Hollingworth, chairman of the Tory party. But in the meantime, who better to replace him than political commentator Candice Holdsworth? Hi, Candice.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing? Let me ask you, what do you think about Andrew? I mean, we think this is probably not the end of the affair.
Yeah, I think finally the king has showed a bit of teeth. I mean, I think I discussed this with you maybe 2 years ago. We were talking about why
going on there, we probably did.
Yes. And you were like, why doesn't he just strip them of their titles? He can do that. And I was like, well, he doesn't seem to be that sort of person. But now it seems like actually he is. And I think probably what's going on is a lot of people quite close to this issue have said pressure may be coming from elsewhere, and it may be coming from William and Kate, who don't want to deal with this when they come to power. They want all these messes cleaned up. And one thing William has in common with his grandmother, the Queen, is he's quite a decisive person. And that's what everyone says. He's tough. He's not like his father. His father is a lot softer. He's a lot more sentimental. He's more willing to sort of give people a chance. William is not like that. William's going to be quite a formidable king by the sounds of it. He's not going to be weak on any of these issues. The only thing I will say, and this is my own personal opinion on this, I know not everyone will agree with me, though I think Andrew has behaved disgracefully. He has had all the privileges in the world and he's just wasted them. One thing I don't like is a lot of the accusations against him, a lot of it's rumor and speculation, and none of it has actually ever been properly established. And I think anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein has a dark conspiratorial edge, and I don't like that personally.
Well, that could be true, Candice, but everybody, including the King, quite clearly thinks that Andrew is lying when he said he didn't, when he insists he did not sexually abuse Virginia Giuffre, Virginia Roberts, as she was then, on 3 different continents. That is at the root of his problems. There he is, pictured with a woman he said he's never met. He's just lying, and that is not acceptable. Candy, stay where you are. We'll come back to you in a minute because we're going to go over now to Chairman of the Conservative Party, Kevin Hollingray. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Let me ask you, if I may, obviously the big story of the day is Andrew. I keep wanting to call him Prince Andrew. He's been stripped of that. He's now being officially stripped of his titles by the King. Well, I mean, I want to ask you in a little while why it was 2 weeks ago we were told you can't strip him of his titles unless we have an Act of Parliament. Now it seems that we can, or the King can, and also why it was that we were told, well, we can never strip him of the right to call himself Prince because that is his birthright. Now all of a sudden it seems that we can. So the rules seem to be changing as we go along. But just overarchingly first, your thoughts on what has happened, on what the King has done and what has happened to Prince Andrew.
Well, I think the King's done the right thing. I'm not an expert on the actual process in how these things happen, and certainly I think it's right to say that Parliament can't do it, but I think it's my understanding that the King can always do it. And he's decided to take this very difficult decision with his own brother in terms of stripping him of those royal titles. So I think the least we can do is to support him in his actions, and indeed in terms of where Prince Andrew will live, and the King himself is taking responsibility to pay for that. I don't believe in a trial in the court of public opinion, but I think it was very clear that some of the accounts of Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein had changed quite often and in recent weeks. So I think given that, and the continued nature of the allegations and the more serious allegations in terms of some of the criminal allegations against him, I think it was the right thing to do to strip him of those titles.
And of course he was definitively proved to have lied. An email emerged of him sort of reaching out to Jeffrey Epstein saying, oh, you know, we're both in this together, we'll get through it, we'll ride this out and we'll play again soon. This email was sent after he absolutely pledged to Emily Maitlis in that now notorious Newsnight interview in 2019 that he'd cut off all communication. So he was exposed as a barefaced liar. His wife, Sarah Ferguson, or his ex-wife, did exactly the same thing, gave an interview saying, I've committed a terrible error of judgment and I've now cut off all communication with Jeffrey Epstein. And then an email emerged where she said, I'm really sorry I had to say that, but you know, you understand, you remain my supreme friend. So they both came out with the same lie, and I think that only emerged in the last couple of weeks, and I think those two lies were the straws that broke the camel's back.
Yes, true, and I think also Peter Mandelson the same, and these relationships with Epstein have become very damaging for the people involved in them. I think quite rightly, clearly you've got somebody who's been convicted of some terrible offences, and anybody associated with him if they don't give a full account of what that relationship was like, their position also becomes completely untenable, of course. And that's what's happened. And I think, as I say, the King has made a difficult decision, but the one that we support.
Yeah, no, I think I absolutely agree with you. We support the King now. I just think he's kind of dithered about this, and there are still sort of confusing elements to all this. Parliament needs to pass an act. Parliament doesn't need to pass an act. What the hell is going on? But we've arrived at the right point, I think. Now, let's move on to something that probably interests you more. That's Rachel Reeves. This is the front page of the Daily Mail today, sticking with its big story, despite Andrew. Humiliation for Reeves. Now, here's the thing, Kevin. You know, this is not the crime of the century. It's not murder or anything like that. But she has broken the law. Her personal family home in South London, in a nice area, Dulwich, you know, perk of the job, really. You get to live in 11 Downing Street. Family move out. They got a nice place to rent out. They rent it out for, you know, quite a lot of money. You know, well, they say it was £3,000 a month. I say it's got to be more than that. I reckon it's £70,000 a year. You don't rent out a house in Dulwich for £3,000 a month. That's a separate issue. The problem here is she should have applied for and paid for a landlord's licence. Dulwich Council has that rule. It's all about checking out whether the house is, you know, fire safety, fireproofed and all that sort of thing. Now, she should have applied for that. The Mail found out, so she wrote one of those traditional letters to the Prime Minister. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, oversight and all that stuff. The Prime Minister writes back, said, oh, well, yeah, what a fantastic character of honesty and integrity you've proved yourself to be. I think your apology is quite enough. We draw a line under the whole affair. If it was you or me, I bet you they wouldn't draw a line under the whole affair. But then again, this is the way it goes. Right. So then the next day, the letting agent said, well, actually, we did actually tell her all about it, but it's our fault because we dropped the ball on it. The member of staff who was dealing with the Reeves property suddenly resigned and we forgot all about it. Rachel Reeves then has to write to the Prime Minister again. Oh, it's come to my attention. I found this email. I did know about it. But, you know, because of the letting agency, we never got round to paying. So the story keeps changing. And Keir Starmer keeps writing letters saying, well, thank you for your second apology. That's enough. We'll draw a line over it. Most of us in the real world, all of us peasants and serfs out there, are saying, if this was us, we'd get done for it big time. Why can't we have a personal exonerator in the form of the Prime Minister? This is looking seriously like one rule for them, for the political elite, and one rule for the rest of us. And more to the point, the Prime Minister once famously said, lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. I would say, I'm not kidding here, because the story keeps changing, that if Rachel Reeves had any integrity, if the Prime Minister had any integrity, she would have to go.
Well, he's done the situation up very clearly. I mean, I think what really puts Rachel Reeves in the most difficulty here is her hypocrisy, which is what you said in the past when this has happened. She said, well, people who have broken the law and have lied about it or given a false account of events should have to resign. That's what she's clearly said. She said it back in April 22. That's the situation that's happened here. She's broken the law. She's given one account of events, which turns out to have been false. And then she's given another account of events, which still don't relieve her of the responsibility to get a selective licence, which is a criminal offence, and that's of a standing. I think of about 14 months. She has been breaking the law and receiving tens of thousands of pounds of rent in that period of time. It's her responsibility. She can't say, "Oh, I told my letting agent to do it anyway." That doesn't remove the responsibility for you as a landlord. She's been breaking the law all that time. And she's given different accounts of why that was the case. So what we're asking for, actually, is a full investigation. Both on Wednesday, the Prime Minister decided to take Rachel Reeves' word for what had happened. That turns out not to have been true. And on Thursday, he's done that again. So we don't know if that's true or not. That's why we'd like to see a proper investigation rather than simply an acceptance of Rachel Reeves's account of events. And let's not forget, this is exactly what the Prime Minister said with Angela Rayner, with Louise Haigh, with Peter Mandelson. He said, no, there's nothing to see here. And it's only because we kept pushing, as a party, the Conservative Party were the only party interested in this, we kept pushing that those matters came to a head and they had to resign. So we think it's only right and proper that a proper investigation takes place. If she is found to have done other things wrong, then I think her position is untenable.
I think it is, and here's another reason I think her position is untenable. But I mean, you know, we say that these days about these Labour politicians, and you know, if you have got this Prime Minister who just said, oh, well, you broke the law, you did this, oh, but never mind, never mind. You know, it's almost saying their position is untenable with this Prime Minister is almost redundant. A lot of people saying, well, hang on a second, if Angela Rayner had to resign, I mean, let's face it, she was resigned, as they say. She was effectively sacked as Housing Minister and Deputy Prime Minister because of her, quotes, oversight about stamp duties. Why is the Chancellor of the Exchequer not having to resign or leave because of her oversight in terms of this? And, you know, she can't sort of say, oh, well, you know, these landlords' licence, I didn't know about them. This is a tweet she posted about Leeds City Council. Listen to this, Kevin. I welcome Leeds City Council's decision to expand their selective landlord licensing policy to include the Armley area. This scheme means private landlords in the area will be required to, by law, to obtain a licence for any residential property they are seeking to let. So it's a cause célèbre for her. She cannot plead a kind of airy innocence about this. This is one of her pet causes. And now she's saying, oh, I didn't know, nobody told me. And then, oh, well, they did tell me, but, you know, I forgot. This is getting murkier and murkier, isn't it?
Totally. And the point about that, and I tweeted all that yesterday to say she can't. That was before the second piece of evidence came to light, which contradicted completely the first piece of evidence, the first excuse she gave. The point of these selective licences, they cost landlords up and down the country, you know, hundreds of pounds. This one in Southwark, in Dulwich, in Southwark, costs £900. £900 to have a selective licence. It covers a number of years. She didn't pay it. She didn't check that she'd paid it. Yeah, she's on one hand campaigning for landlords to pay it in her area, in her constituency in Leeds and other parts of the country. That's certainly a Labour policy. All this regulation to make sure landlords do the right thing. And when it comes to what she needs to do, of course, she hasn't done it. And hasn't even checked that she's done it, even though she was warned she had to do it. So you can't simply say, well, it's the agent's fault. That doesn't give you any defence in the law. As the Prime Minister said in the past, ignorance is no defence against the law. Besides the fact, she wasn't ignorant of her requirement. Exactly. She was told she had a requirement. And this is a person who's been the Chancellor of the Exchequer. You'd think she would have her own affairs in order. Now, as I say, we don't, as a party, despite what Rachel Reeves has done in the past in terms of jumping straight for the resignation button, we're not doing that. We're saying we want a proper investigation, that Rachel Reeves' word can't be taken at face value. She has form for misleading in various different areas, CV, of course, but not least in terms of her account of events on Wednesday, which turned out not to be true. We don't think it's right that the Prime Minister simply says nothing to see here. We need a proper investigation.
Exactly right. I wonder what letter she'll be writing tomorrow. We're all on the edge of our seats about that. Kevin, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Kevin Hollingreight there, chairman of the Conservative Party. Rachel Reeves, come on. I mean, he's saying that, I mean, good interview, good guy. He says there needs to be an investigation. I think the facts are just there, aren't they? I mean, they're there. Are we to have a Chancellor of Exchequer who breaks the law, keeps changing her story, you know, forgiven immediately by the Prime Minister? Is that okay with you? I don't think it's okay with me. Listen, Candice Holdsworth, I'm really sorry, we're not going to go back to her because we're running out of time. We'll get her on another time. She's a lovely lady. Sorry about that. But after the break, we're going to go over to Alexander Larman. He's the author, historian and literary editor of The Spectator World. Writes great pieces in the Specky about the royal family. We will talk to him about Andrew. That next, stay tuned.
Saw this story, my initial sort of reaction was, oh my God, I can't believe you need a licence, to let out your property. I've never heard of that, needing a licence. Whatever the oversight was, she's obviously trying to make it go away as fast as possible. But I was amused to hear about all the extra questions that are now being raised. Yeah. Because she was letting the property without a licence, does that make the money she made from it in some way illegitimate?
Well, this is it. And will she have to give back £38,000 to the people
bad day at the office.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Andrew dislodged at last, stripped of his prince title and is forced to quit the Royal Lodge after being served notice following a huge bust-up with his brother Charles and the rest of the royal family for that. Let's go over to author, historian and literary editor of The Spectator World, where it writes very entertaining pieces in The Spectator magazine about the royal family. Alexander Larman. Welcome, Alexander.
Morning, Kevin. How's it going your way?
OK, not going too well, Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor's way, is it?
Oh, I mean, imagine waking up and being him today. I mean, just imagine it. It's unthinkable, actually.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, this is pretty unprecedented. I mean, the last sort of great fall from grace, you can talk about Prince Harry if you want, but the last great fall from royal grace was, of course, King Edward VIII, who relinquished the crown for his love of Wallis Simpson. That was, you know, a reduction in status on an epic scale, but not on the scale of this. This has never happened before. Now, what I want to ask you, Andrew, Alexandra, Freudian slip there, is this. Why was it, you're a bit of an expert in this field, why was it that 2 weeks or so ago when the King or Andrew announced, you know, I'm so full of honour and sense of duty, I'm going to not use my titles anymore, Duke of York, Earl of Inverness and Baron Kililea. I won't use those anymore. We said, well, why isn't it? And then we find out, well, he's still got those titles, but he just won't use them. We go, well, why? Well, can't we literally strip him of those titles? Oh, well, that would take an act of Parliament. King doesn't want to bother Parliament. We sort of go, well, I'm not sure if that's satisfactory, but OK. 2 weeks later, suddenly we learned the King can strip him of these titles. And the other thing we were told, well, we can never remove from him the right to call himself a prince because that is his birthright. Suddenly, we learn we can strip him of the right to call himself prince. I mean, I think the King's finally done the right thing. Wrong thing. He's finally done the right thing, but he seems to be making up the rules as he goes along.
Yes, Kevin. I mean, what I'd say is that it's a very bizarre situation because constitutionally we are in completely unknown territory at the moment, and we simply do not know precisely. Because, as you say, we were being told that it would require an act of Parliament. The Lib Dems were saying that they were going to move a motion to have him stripped of his titles, but you were talking about potentially a year this was going to take. And so the fact that the King can just say last night, right, he's been stripped of all of his titles, he can't use them, he's not a prince anymore, blah, blah, blah. On the one hand, yep, good, decisive action. But on the other hand, you think, but constitutionally, can you do that? Because obviously, what you have to remember is that the King is a constitutional monarch, which means that he governs with the assent of Parliament. He can't just announce, right, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And so actually, a lot of people will be saying this morning, it was good theatrics last night, and it was very dramatic in terms of what happened. But has he actually been stripped of all these things, or would it require there to be more parliamentary intervention? And I think for one of the things that we don't know at the moment, Charles doesn't know what he's doing because this is such unprecedented territory. I mean, even Edward VIII, he wasn't stripped of his titles. He was just given a new one and became Duke of Windsor. But given that the man is a Nazi sympathiser who was photographed with Hitler, he was still... I mean, the worst that happened to him was he was sent off to the Bahamas in World War II because it was thought he was a bit too pally with the Nazis. So we look at Andrew and we see the level of disgrace. I mean, there is nothing to compare to this in recent times, nothing of 20th century, probably nothing of the 19th century. So we are talking something that nobody living is going to have any experience of anything like this whatsoever. And what I also think is that it's a gift for the Republican movement, because what we lack in this country is any kind of organised, well put together Republican movement. We've got a few, stragglers here and there, led by Graham Smith and his Republic movement. But the royal family continue to be popular in this country. They continue to be a symbol, a figurehead. But this has caused such damage to their reputation. But I think that what the King is now hoping is that this has lanced the boil and that the rot can finally stop. Of course, what we're going to see over the next few days is there more to come? And I think that the Epstein files are like a very nasty present that keeps on giving. And there's every chance there will be more that emerges. And of course, what I've been asking is, does the King know something that we don't? Because a lot of his actions seem to be taken quite unilaterally, and you keep thinking, is something else about to come out that's going to be even more embarrassing and even more damaging? I think you're right there, Alexander. I think that's what's going on. I think the King does know. I think the royal family do know that there's more to come. Apparently, the ghostwriter of Virginia Giuffre, God rest her soul's posthumous book, Nobody's Girl, said that they have all sorts of information that will get Andrew into serious trouble. And at the root of this,
I mean, obviously, is Andrew and Fergie's continued relationship with a convicted paedophile. They didn't care that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted paedophile. The only thing they cared about him was that he had a lot of money, billions of dollars, and therein lies their problem. But Andrew and Fergie lied about cutting off communications with this guy, and nobody believes Andrew when he said, "Oh, I didn't do that. I never met Virginia Roberts as she was then. I did not sexually abuse her on 3 continents." Now, one of the places where he is accused of sexually abusing Virginia Giuffre. She was only Virginia Roberts as she was then. There it is, picture of her in Ghislaine Maxwell's London home. She was only 17 then. Andrew says he never met her. Basically, nobody believes that. No. Nobody believes that. And quite clearly, with this statement yesterday that the King released, or Buckingham Palace released, they made it very clear that the royal family, like the rest of us, do not believe a word he says. They say these censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make it clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. What they really mean there is the victims of sexual abuse. So the royal family, like the rest of us, do not believe this guy. So put the case that he did sexually abuse, no, basically raped this girl while he was in London. That is an offence in this country. The police, I think, must investigate. This nightmare for Andrew is not over, is it?
No, it's not. And I think that if I was Andrew, I would almost be welcoming the idea of the police knocking on the door, because ultimately that's how this has to play out, isn't it? It has to be that if he was to be arrested, if he was to be the first member of a royal family ever to be put on trial in a criminal court, then I'm not sure what a jury of his peers would be anymore. But if that happened and he was to be acquitted, then it would be his name would be restored, and then actually you could see that there would be a path back for him. If he was, however, convicted and he went to prison, well, that would go very, very badly indeed. And if I was him, I'd be thinking, well, okay, let's see, because that is the only way now. That's the only path where there's any kind of comeback for him, because otherwise it's just a lifetime of obscurity in some little cottage on the Sandringham estate.
Well, whether or not he'd be acquitted, I would have my personal doubts. I think a lot of people will have doubts about that. One quick last question, Alexander. We've got to go. Great to talk to you. If this guy, Andrew, Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, does have this mysterious source of wealth that we keep hearing about, that may be another reason he could be in criminal trouble. Why is the King going to give him a free house on Sandringham Estate?
Because he wants to shut him up is the only reason I can imagine.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we were being told earlier in the week that he was negotiating to move out of Royal Lodge and go to Frogmore Cottage and stuff like that. And clearly the negotiations didn't go very well. So he's been told that, right, you're not going to have a plush little place that's been refurbished at the cost of taxpayer-funded millions on the Windsor estate. You're going to go to some small bit of Sandringham. But a lot of people, myself included, would be thinking, you're not owed anything. Just go to the Middle East, go and live in some, potentate's back room or something like that. Stop bothering the world.
Yeah, I mean, the royal family, King, we are told, are worried about if they don't sort of look after Andrew, that he might write a sort of tell-all book to make some money and humiliate his family. But then again, they've cast Fergie out into the barren ether. They've told her she can fend for herself, make her own arrangements, so she's now a clear and present danger. So I'm not sure about this fear of a book angle. Do you think, last question, Alexander, do you think that the King, when he plonks Andrew, his brother, into Sandringham, do you think he'll put travel restrictions on him and say, look, we don't want to see your face again. I don't want you going to the local pub. Actually, he doesn't drink, to be fair, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about the idea of his doing a book, and I was thinking, well, he would call it My Struggle, but that type of taken. Yeah. So I think that you can't stop him from going anywhere. I mean, unless you take away his passport, you can't forbid him from travelling. I mean, he probably wants to go to the Middle East again and tap up some people who've given him money in the past. But I don't think the story's over, Kevin. I think there's more to come, and I think it's going to be a really unedifying and unpleasant next few weeks for everyone involved in the royal family, but most of all for Andy Windsor, as we can now call him.
Andy Windsor, indeed. Randy Andy Windsor. Listen, I love your pieces in the Specky about the royals, Alexander. Really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Alexander Larman there from The Spectator. Right, next up, Marc Francois, MP, will be in to talk about Poppy Day. It's Poppy Day, isn't it? All coming up. He's been selling them himself. He'll tell us how important it is that we get behind the Royal Legion's, the British Legion's annual Poppy Drive fundraising drive for our veterans. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's Poppy Day coming up. Let's go straight over to Shadow Defence Minister Marc Francois. Welcome, Marc.
Good morning.
Why is it still important that we buy out? You've got yours on, I've got mine on. Why is this still important?
Because we are remembering and commemorating those who gave their lives in 2 world wars and in other conflicts so that we can still have the privilege of living in a free country. If I may, Kevin, my late father, Stoker First Class, Reg Francois, when he was 19 years of age, he was on a minesweeper called HMS Bresset on D-Day. Now, he died when I was only 14, unfortunately, but he impressed upon me as his young son, never, ever to take living in a free country for granted. And in a sense, that is what the Poppy Appeal is about.
Yeah.
And the money that is raised by people donating, putting their money in the tin, or often these days, tapping the card reader, the money that is raised goes to help the Legion look after our veterans. They run a number of care homes. They provide grants for veterans who need help. And it also helps them to be a campaigning organisation, to campaign on behalf of those who gave so much for our country. So it's a thoroughly worthwhile cause. I think their target this year is about £50 million. And from what I saw at Victoria Station yesterday morning, hopefully they're on course to hit it.
How did you get on? How many poppies did you sell, Mark?
I was with a group. We sold quite a few. The metal ones seem to be very popular now, the little metal pins. And we sold quite a handful of those. I was with some armed forces personnel. I was with some veterans who came along wearing their medals to help out. I did the morning shift at Victoria Station, and then the rest of the defence team, led by James Cartledge and with Kenny Badenoch, did the afternoon shift. So, you know, we were there for the commuters in the morning and the commuters in the afternoon or evening going home. But London Poppy Day goes on across all the rail and tube stations across London. So at Waterloo Station, for instance, the central band of the RAF were playing to entertain commuters. So it goes on all over the capital. And I think the figures are still being audited from yesterday. But from what I understand, they've raised a pretty tidy sum.
Excellent, excellent. I don't know if they still do this. Sports fans might like to know. I got one a couple of years ago. You can get poppies with your team on. So I had a Fulham FC one. I don't know if they still do that, but it was a rather good idea. So there's all forms of poppies you can get. As you say, you can get the metal ones. You can get some very elaborate ones as well, sort of almost bejewelled, covered in rhinestones and so on and so forth. So all forms of poppies are available. Everybody should invest. I've got to ask you one, I guess, slightly depressing question. Talking of the brave veterans, including your dad, these people, these brave men and women who fought for their country, laid down their lives, you know, looking around today, you talked of this being a free country. Sometimes you look around and you think, well, what is going on now? Would they like the country that Britain has become?
Well, I don't really want to mix politics too much with remembrance.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But you know, remembrance is a special thing.
You're absolutely right.
And, you know, I should make the point. I think there were MPs for other parties across London doing their bit as well. It's always been a cross-party thing, that. But I think when you talk to military veterans, as I do quite a bit, I think what they're looking for is some recognition from across the country. And, you know, just the act of wearing that small poppy it's only for a fortnight once a year, shows that the people, young and old, male and female, black and white, all ages, all races, are grateful for the sacrifices that were made so that we would be free. There's a thing called the Kohima Epitaph. It's taken from the 2nd Infantry Division Memorial at Kohima on the Burma-India border, and you might recognise the words. It says, "When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today." That's a very good summary of what remembrance is all about, I think.
Brilliant, Mark, brilliant. Very powerful words. And thank you, and well done for getting behind this important annual fundraising campaign. Thank you, Mark. Mark Francois, MP, Shadow Defence Minister. When we come back in the studio, it's Rafe Heidel-Manku. We'll talk about Prince Andrew. He's a bit of an expert on constitutional affairs and what the hell is happening to the royal family now. So we will talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Where's the United Kingdom?
Behind you.
Where?
Oh, I'm here. Oh, there you are.
Very good.
Oh, Keir's coming forward.
People all came in like 20-minute notice.
Oh, he's come up to speak and Trump sent him away.
Others, and just so many others. And it's such a compliment to what we're doing, because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So it's perhaps the wealthiest and most powerful.
Right, cut him now. Cut that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. My good friend Alex Phillips, my former TV wife, will be joining you after the 10 o'clock news. We are going to go straight through. We're not going to do a handover because we've been running, busily trying to pack in all the Prince Andrew stuff throughout the day. Obviously a huge royal story. In the studio to talk about that from the New Culture Forum is Rafe Heidel-Manku. Thanks for coming in, Rafe. But before we get to the royals, there's something else you need to discuss. I think it's quite important. Right, this is Glamour magazine. J.K. Rowling, the author, I'm a big fan of her work, by the way. I love J.K. Rowling's body of work, except for all that Harry Potter crap. No, but seriously, she's got away with words, and she's fought a brilliant campaign about women's rights. Now, this is the front page of Glamour magazine. Look at that. Basically, the dolls, it says, the dolls. By the way, it's not a very glamorous picture. Whoever took that, there's a bunch of sheds and warehouses in the background. But here's these, girls standing on the roof. 9 of them. Protect the dolls. These are guys. These are blokes. What are they doing on the front page of the magazine? J.K. Rowling, in her inimitable style, tweeted this. I grew up in an era when mainstream women's magazines told girls they needed to be thinner and prettier. Now, mainstream women's magazines tell girls that men are better women than they are. Well, I mean, this is ridiculous, isn't it, Rafe?
Yeah, what gets me about all of this is why is it always women who have to pay the price for everything here, right? You don't have trans men on the cover of Men's Health magazine, right? You never hear about drag kings, do you? So what's going on here? And you get, I'm not
drag kings.
I'm not the most strident feminist in the world, but if I find this outrageous, what are people like Jess Phillips and all these other people who claim to be feminists doing? Yeah. They're silent about what's happening in these extremes, radical Islam, misogyny, and sexual aggression. They're silent about these sorts of issues. It's like, who is there defending women?
Yeah, I mean, Glamour magazine, I suppose one shouldn't be sexist, but this is a magazine for women. And there's 9 blokes, 9 guys pretending to be women on the front, and it says, protect the dolls. They're not dolls, they're men. That's what they are, men. Why are they on the front of this magazine? What does Glamour think it's doing? Let Alex Phillips know about this. She'll want to talk about this. I know this. What's that number? 0344 499 1000. I forgot it for a second there. Don't know why. I say it 800 times a minute. 0344 499 1000. Get on the phone and talk to Alex about this. Rafe, now let's move on to Prince Andrew, as we've been saying. Unprecedented. This has never happened to a member of the royal family before. I want to ask you, it's been my theme of the day. Look, the King has done the right thing at last, to be honest with you. He's dithered about this. He's tried to get away with saying, oh, don't worry, my brother won't call himself the Duke of York anymore. He won't call himself the Earl of Inverness or Baron Killalea anymore. And then we found out, oh, that's good. And we find out, oh, hasn't officially lost those titles. It's just he won't call them. He'll call himself that.
Well, he still hasn't lost the title of Duke.
Well, that's my point. And also, but we can never take Prince away from him because that's his birthright. Now we find out 2 weeks later that the King says he can take these titles away from him because that's what he's going to do. And also, he can take away what we were told is Andrew's birthright of being called Prince. So they seem to be making up the rules as they go along.
No, I'm going to take issue with you there. The royal household never said that they couldn't take away his title of Prince. We've always known that.
Well, we were told we needed an Act of Parliament.
No, so...
Well, that's what we were told.
No, we weren't.
Well, we were.
No, as the editor of Burke's Peerage, World Orders of Knighted, let me give you the authoritative piece here.
All right, I give up. OK.
The King can't remove a peerage title of Duke. Duke is a peerage title. It's treated as a form of property. Only Parliament can take property away from you. What the King always has been able to do, and which he's never denied he could do, is take away Royal Highness and take away the title of Prince. Those simply require the issuance of letters patent or royal warrant.
Okay.
It was done in 1917. It was done in 1919. So it's been 100 years since it's happened, but he's always had that ability, and that's never been in question or in doubt.
OK, so he's doing that. So to... Officially, we still do need an Act of Parliament to get rid of Duke, Earl and Baron, then?
Yes, so for the Duke... So Earl of Inverness and then Duke of York, that still requires an Act of Parliament. The Parliament has said they don't want to deal with it. It's up to the King to make moves on that in terms of giving Parliament the nod to do it. But the King doesn't want to waste valuable parliamentary time.
It'll take 10 minutes, Rafe. Well, it will take 10 minutes.
Anyway...
Do it, Charlie. Do it.
It's up to Parliament to actually go through with all of that.
Yeah,
so.
but I mean, I suppose I'm probably pushing it now. I mean, his disgrace could not be greater, could it?
And he's agreed he won't use it. So he has become Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, which for somebody who held titles and honours in such high regard would correct people for calling his grandmother the Queen Mother rather than Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother. This sort of stuff is going to be a very bitter pill to swallow.
You know this story that. He walked into some conference when he was still running, what was it called, Pitch at the Palace, you know, his business and entrepreneur's business. He walked into a room, a sort of conference room, and there's 20 people sitting around. He walked in, and they're waiting for him, and he walked in, and he sort of looked at them. He said, "Well, let's try that again, shall we?" And he walked out of the room. And came in again and said, "I'm a member of the royal family. Please stand." That's the level of this guy's pomposity.
Well, as has often said, be nice to people on the way up, because you know you need their support on the way down, and I don't think he has much of that.
Yeah, but they're now saying, you know, we've got this Virginia Giuffre book, Nobody's Girl, makes very explicit. Allegations against this guy, and I think that this statement by the royal family, by Buckingham Palace, issued last night, here it is, folks, where it says, "These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make it clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse." In other words, they are effectively saying there, the King and the Queen, what we all think, that he's lying when he said he did not sexually abuse this girl on 3 continents.
And that last patch is very interesting because it says their Majesties, so it's not even just the King.
Yeah.
The Queen is also saying that, and it's that sort of act of compassion which was missing from that famous Emily Maitlis interview that Prince Andrew gave. They are giving that themselves here, which I think is very important.
And I don't think this nightmare is over for him, because, as I was just saying, this and our belief that he's lying, that if on the basis that he's lying about what he did to Virginia Roberts as she was then, that means a crime that he sexually abused her in London, an investigation